Welcome to AI Otaku Studio. If you enjoy fantasy and audiobook adventures, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Also, check out my second channel, Infinite Novel Audio, for more anime and AI inspired content. Now, let's begin.
Chapter 26 Bai Jai's Surprise. In the center of the Stardew Great Forest, amidst the Lake of Life. The Silver Dragon King, who was sleeping, sensed a fleeting aura and woke up. If it were just the aura of a titled Douluo, she wouldn't have reacted, but the owner of that aura was a divine rank powerhouse. Could it be that those in the god realm had discovered her existence? The next second, she dismissed this thought. If the other party had discovered her, they wouldn't have exposed their aura. Instead, they would have surrounded and killed her directly, without giving her a chance to react. She was the Silver Dragon King, the second master of all spirit beasts after the dragon god, and an enemy to those gods in the god realm. Bai Jai, go to the eastern region of the Stardew Great Forest and take a look. Yes, my lord. The Silver Dragon King pondered for a moment and sent Bai Jai to investigate the situation. Originally, she had intended to send Dai Tian to investigate, but it was easy for Dai Tian to be seen as looking for trouble, so after thinking about it, she felt Bai Jai was more suitable. Upon hearing the Silver Dragon King's words, Bai Jai left the Lake of Life and headed to the location mentioned by the Silver Dragon King to investigate. Done. Deng Mu opened his eyes and muttered to himself. Although it was said that there were no side effects to absorbing a 10,000-year spirit ring, his body still needed to adapt to the spirit power brought by the 10,000-year spirit ring. Now his rank had reached 24. Most of the spirit power had been absorbed by the clear sky hammer. Otherwise, he felt his rank could have increased even more. Deng Mu estimated in his heart that reaching rank 30+ by the age of 12 would not be a difficult task. This 10,000-year emerald spirit deer provided him with a spirit ability called the blue-silver rejuvenation technique. With the user as the center, it releases a patch of blue-silver light filled with life force into the surroundings. Wherever the light reaches, the injuries on friendly targets within the range will begin to heal at a relatively fast speed, whether it is a wound caused by external trauma or organ damage caused by internal injuries. All can gradually recover under the effect of the blue-silver rejuvenation technique. The healing effect of this spirit ability is not a one-time thing, but has persistence. For a period of time after the skill is released, friendly spirit masters within the range covered by the blue-silver light will be continuously nourished by life force, and while their injuries continue to heal, their physical strength and spirit power will also recover at a stable speed. In addition to the powerful healing effect, the blue-silver rejuvenation technique can also purify negative status effects on friendly spirit masters. Deng Mu was quite surprised. The healing skill provided by this emerald spirit deer was actually so good. He had thought it would only provide a simple healing skill. He didn't expect it to provide such a good skill. However, thinking of Douluo's 8th spirit ability, Deng Mu felt his own spirit ability was just average. After all, Douluo's 8th spirit ability required a huge consumption of spirit power, and its power was enough to completely lock time within a radius of several thousand square meters. This 8th spirit ability was provided by a 10,000-year spirit beast, which was considered somewhat outrageous. Speaking of which, the titled Douluo spirit abilities from the first Douluo series were all a bit outrageous. Zyro Wu's Paragon Golden Body was also quite outrageous. Seeing Deng Mu successfully absorb the Emerald Spirit Deer's spirit ring, Tang Hao couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. When Deng Mu was absorbing the Emerald Spirit Deer spirit ring, he was preparing to rescue Deng Mu at any time to avoid Deng Mu being unable to get timely rescue while absorbing the spirit ring. At this moment, Deng Mu noticed something. It seemed like there was something inside the Emerald Spirit Deer's body. After a careful inspection, he found a left leg bone inside the Emerald Spirit Deer's body. Looking at the left leg bone in his hand, Deng Mu turned to Tang Hao and said, "Grandpa, I found a left leg spirit bone inside the Emerald Spirit Deer." Deng Mu had no intention of absorbing this left leg spirit bone. His dream was for the clear sky hammer to have all red rings, and if they were all red, every spirit beast could drop a spirit bone. The most outrageous thing was that whatever spirit bone you lacked, that 100,000-year spirit beast could drop it, unless it was a spirit beast that could only drop specific spirit bones. It felt like when that spirit beast died, the heavens scanned it and then gave it a spirit bone he didn't have. It was similar to a game, but he remembered that Douluo seemed to be based on a game, right? Tang Hao was a little surprised to see the spirit bone in Deng Mu's hand. He didn't expect Deng Mu's luck to be so good that he could get a spirit bone. However, he did not suggest that Deng Mu absorb it. He intended to hunt a 100,000-year spirit beast for Deng Mu, as the spirit bone of a 100,000-year spirit beast was incomparably more powerful than that of a 10,000-year spirit beast. Of course, the spirit bones produced by some special spirit beasts could compare to those of 100,000-year ones, but those special spirit beasts were even rarer than 100,000-year spirit beasts. Tang Hao thought for a moment and said, "Little Mu, I don't suggest you absorb it now. You can put this spirit bone away." Deng Mu nodded as he listened to Tang Hao's words. Even if Tang Hao let him absorb it, he couldn't possibly absorb this 10,000-year left leg spirit bone. Then he put the left leg spirit bone away. He had already thought about how to handle this spirit bone. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. This spirit bone could be given to his sister Tang Ye, or those two, or perhaps the biological sister he had never met, Wang Donga, in the future. He would see who needed it then. Whoever needed it would get it. However, his luck was quite good. He managed to get a spirit bone the first time he encountered a 10,000-year spirit beast. "Grandpa, are we going back now, or what? Let's stroll around here for a bit. I'll choose a few spirit beasts for you to fight. You need to improve your actual combat experience now." Deng Mu thought about it and agreed. He felt that he really needed to improve his combat experience. Although he was a support system spirit master now, his physique crushed spirit masters of the same level. Even the physique of a spirit elder might not be as strong as his. The two left together and headed toward the outer perimeter of the Stardew Great Forest. After Deng Mu and the others had left for a while, Bai Jai appeared from a corner and came to check the corpse of the emerald spirit deer. It was actually a 10,000-year spirit beast. That child is extraordinary. Bai Jai was extremely surprised to discover that this emerald spirit deer was actually a 10,000-year one. She didn't believe that Deng Mu's strength had reached the spirit Douluo level. At Deng Mu's age, he would at most have broken through to a 2-ring spirit grandmaster. She was quite knowledgeable about the cultivation ranks of spirit masters and some knowledge of spirit masters. The best spirit ring configuration for a spirit master is yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 red. Logically speaking, Deng Mu should have absorbed a 100-year spirit ring. If he were gifted, he could absorb a 1,000-year spirit ring. But that child's second spirit ring was a 10,000-year one, which shocked Bai Jai very much. Bai Jai muttered to herself, "It seems that a peerless genius has appeared." According to this situation, that child could absorb several 100,000-year spirit rings, which was a huge trouble for the spirit beasts. Moreover, the man beside that child gave her a feeling of being unfathomable. It was fortunate that she hid well, otherwise, if she had been discovered by the other party, she would have been finished. Chapter 27, Chance Encounter with Yan Sheoj and Ma Xiarot. "Take this." Deng Mu held the clear sky hammer and used the disorder-splitting wind hammer method against the spirit beast in front of him. The spirit beast fighting Deng Mu was called a steel-armed giant ape. It had a burly figure, standing over 3 zhang tall when upright, and was covered in black fur as hard as steel, shimmering with a metallic luster in the sunlight. Its arms were incredibly thick, with muscle lines resembling coiled pythons, and every swing carried the power to split mountains and shatter rocks. Its facial features were well defined. Its eyes like deep bronze bells emitting a resolute and fierce light, and inside its gaping maw, its fangs were as sharp as swords. This was the spirit beast Tang Hao had chosen for Deng Mu, and it was quite good for sparring. Every hammer strike slammed heavily into the steel-armed giant ape, as if he meant to kill it with a single blow. The steel-armed giant ape kept blocking Deng Mu's attacks. It truly could not imagine that this human child before it had such incredibly powerful strikes. It was impossible for it to counterattack, and most importantly, Deng Mu's attacks grew stronger each time, making it gradually unable to defend itself. However, it had absolutely no opportunity to resist. Bang! Following a heavy blow from Deng Mu, the steel-armed giant ape was sent flying, crashing into a large tree and passing out. Watching the unconscious steel-armed giant ape, Deng Mu thought to himself that this millennial spirit beast was a bit weak and not quite enough for his training. Tang Hao watched this scene and nodded inwardly. Indeed, this steel-armed giant ape was a bit weak. He needed to find another one for Deng Mu. The next one would be a 5,000-year spirit beast. Before training, he certainly needed to understand his grandson's strength to better select spirit beasts to train Deng Mu. Deng Mu looked at the unconscious steel-armed giant ape, and after thinking for a moment, used his second spirit ability, blue-silver rejuvenation technique. The next second, a wave of blue-silver light filled with life force was released from him, spreading in all directions. The light shone on the steel-armed giant ape, and its wounds healed rapidly. In no time at all, the injuries on the steel-armed giant ape were completely healed. Watching the steel-armed giant ape's wounds heal quickly, Deng Mu had a rough idea of the healing effect of his spirit ability. He was not some great philanthropist. He treated the steel-armed giant ape because it had trained with him, and he wanted to test the healing effect of his second spirit ability in the process. Seeing Deng Mu treat the steel-armed giant ape, Tang Hao thought to himself that Deng Mu was very kind, just like his Yin. Although Deng Mu was kind, he did not hesitate at all during combat and had no intention of showing mercy, which was excellent. After a while, the steel-armed giant ape gradually woke up and was incredibly amazed to find no injuries on its body. Seeing Deng Mu not far away, the steel-armed giant ape felt it was likely this human who had treated it. It felt that this human was truly strange. He had beaten it into a serious injury, yet he had healed it. Unable to figure out the reason, the steel-armed giant ape chose to flee, lest it be beaten up by this human again. Deng Mu couldn't help but laugh as he watched the steel-armed giant ape flee. He had thought the steel-armed giant ape would continue fighting him. "Grandfather, let's go and find other spirit beasts." Tang Hao took Deng Mu to look for other spirit beasts to improve Deng Mu's practical combat experience. It took only 1 minute for Tang Hao to find a spirit beast suitable for sparring with Deng Mu. The flame shadow leopard was a millennial fire attribute spirit beast. It had a robust physique and graceful posture, and its entire body was covered in flame patterns, as if it had been meticulously carved from fire. Its fur was a mix of red and black, resembling flickering flames in the darkness, and it exuded a scorching aura. However, this flame shadow leopard was a 7,000-year spirit beast. If Deng Mu fought it, he would likely suffer quite a bit. After all, he required Deng Mu not to use spirit abilities, relying only on the disorder-splitting wind hammer method and Tang Sect techniques to fight the spirit beast. After all, Deng Mu's blue-silver emperor followed a support path, and without rich combat experience, it would be easy for others to defeat him. Tang Hao thought about it and decided to take Deng Mu over. If anything unexpected happened, he would deal with the flame shadow leopard. On the way to where the flame shadow leopard was, Deng Mu saw 2 people in the distance. These 2, one male and one female. The man looked to be over 60 years old, and the young girl looked to be only about 12. When the girl saw Deng Mu, her eyes lit up, and she ran up to him to greet him. "Hello, little brother, my name is Ma Zirotao. What is your name?" Learning that the other party was Ma Zirotao, Deng Mu looked at her with some surprise. As for the man's identity, he already knew. This man was Yan Sheosh. He hadn't expected to meet Ma Zirotao and Yan Sheosh here. Could it be that Ma Zirotao had already reached rank 30? That didn't seem likely. Yan Sheosh was probably bringing Ma Zirotao here for training. Deng Mu thought for a moment and greeted Ma Zirotao. "Hello, my name is Deng Mu." While the two were talking, Yan Sheosh quietly observed Deng Mu and Tang Hao. He was surprised to find that he could not detect Tang Hao's strength. However, he had already clearly detected Deng Mu's strength. He had actually reached rank 24. This surprised him immensely. This kind of talent felt even higher than his teacher Mu En's. His teacher had reached rank 20 at the age of 8. Yet the child before him looked less than 8 years old, but his rank had already reached 24. He was simply a genius among geniuses. Even the legendary Tang San could not possibly surpass Deng Mu in talent. This gave Yan Sheosh the idea to invite Deng Mu to Shrek Academy, but thinking of Tang Hao by Deng Mu's side, he couldn't help but sigh. Given Tang Hao's unfathomable strength, Deng Mu must come from a top-tier power. How could people from such a top-tier power let their own genius run off to their Shrek Academy? He felt that Tang Hao and Deng Mu were likely from a hidden sect. Otherwise, he should have known of someone like Tang Hao. Yan Shaozh thought for a moment and respectfully said to Tang Hao, "Junior Yan Shaozh pays respects to senior." He could not be impolite to such an unfathomable powerhouse. Tang Hao heard Yan Shaozh's words, nodded slightly in response, and looked at Ma Zirotao. He had just sensed Ma Zirotao, her talent was quite good. However, Ma Zirotao's spirit reminded him of someone, Tang San's brother, Ma Hongzhen. He remembered that after Ma Hongzhen became a god, his wife's talent was somewhat lacking, and his wife and child remained on the Douluo Continent. This child was also surnamed Ma. Could she be a descendant of Ma Hongzhen? Just as Tang Hao was thinking, Ma Zirotao held Deng Mu's hand and kept talking. Listening to Ma Zirotao chattering away, Deng Mu looked at her with some helplessness. He remembered Ma Zirotao being a cold, mature woman. Why was she like this when she was young? It really didn't fit her image. It was possible he had remembered incorrectly. Having been in this world for so many years, he had forgotten the personalities of many characters. Who would waste time remembering the personalities of these people every day? Chapter 28 Hua Yuhao, Hua Yutong. While Ma Zirotao and Deng Mu were chatting, Bai Jai returned to the Stardew Great Forest. Reporting to the master, there is a powerhouse over there hunting spirit beasts with his descendant. The Silver Dragon King felt a bit puzzled upon hearing Bai Jai's words. If one were just hunting spirit beasts, there would be no need to personally enter the Stardew Great Forest, right? Could it be that this person holds some great secret? At this moment, the Silver Dragon King noticed a mark left on Bai Jai and casually erased it. Without even thinking, she knew that this mark must have been left on Bai Jai by that divine rank being. It was probably intended for his descendant, so that when they reached a breakthrough to title Douluo, they could bring their descendant to hunt Bai Jai. If that time really came and she didn't intervene, it would chill the hearts of her subordinates. If she did intervene, she would be exposed, and at that time, all the gods in the god realm would discover her. Bai Jai continued that Powerhouse's descendant broke through to Spirit Grandmaster and absorbed a 10,000-year spirit ring. Upon hearing Bai Jai's words, the Silver Dragon King felt some surprise. A Spirit Grandmaster absorbing a 10,000-year spirit ring. Isn't that just courting death? But the fact that the child successfully absorbed it made it impossible for her not to be surprised. It seems this child will definitely become a god, and might even surpass Tang San. The reason the Silver Dragon King thought this way was because Deng Mu had a divine rank powerhouse protecting him, which meant he had connections in the god realm. Given Deng Mu's talent, she felt that Deng Mu was at least a first-class god, and if he were lucky, he might even inherit a God King's god position. Previously, she thought a God King's god position was impossible. But the incident with Tang San 10,000 years ago allowed her to see the possibility. The Silver Dragon King thought for a moment and felt she could secretly make contact with Deng Mu. After Deng Mu becomes a god in the future, the other party might be able to help her, but this is on the premise that they have an exceptionally good relationship. However, their meeting would need to be carefully planned. She couldn't let the god beside Deng Mu discover anything unusual. Tang Hao suddenly sensed that the mark he had left on Bai Jai had disappeared. He could be certain that Bai Jai definitely hadn't discovered it. With her strength, it was impossible for her to detect it, so there was only one possibility. That was that a divine rank powerhouse was hiding in the depths of the Stardew Great Forest. This surprised him. There was actually a divine rank powerhouse in the depths of the Stardew Great Forest. He had visited a few times before, which made Tang Hao feel a bit fortunate that the other party hadn't attacked at the time. Tang Hao couldn't help but speculate in his heart that the reason that God was hiding might just be to avoid the gods of the God realm. The God realm had quite a few enemies, and as for who was hiding in the Stardew Great Forest, he couldn't be sure. He needed to tell his son about this matter and have him investigate it. Because he was worried that the powerhouse would take action against Deng Mu in the future. Little Mu, let's go. Deng Mu heard Tang Hao's words and nodded to indicate he understood. Although he didn't know why Tang Hao suddenly wanted to take him away, he guessed it was because he had discovered something. Seeing that Deng Mu was about to leave, Ma Xiaorotao looked at him with some disappointment. She quite liked this little brother and was reluctant to part with Deng Mu. Seeing that Ma Xiaorotao was very disappointed, Deng Mu reached out and patted Ma Xiaorotao's head. "Sister Tao, we'll see each other next time." Ma Xiaorotao grabbed Deng Mu's hand and asked, "Little Mu, can you come to Shrek Academy in the future? I live at Shrek Academy." Hearing Ma Xiaorotao's words, Yan Shao's eyes lit up, and he praised Ma Xiaorotao in his heart. He had been wondering how to invite Deng Mu to Shrek Academy, but he hadn't expected Ma Xiaorotao to directly invite Deng Mu to attend Shrek Academy. Deng Mu listened to Ma Xiaorotao's words, thought for a moment and said, "All right, I'll go when I'm 12. At this moment, Yan Shaosh took out a token and said, "Little friend, take this token. With this token, you can directly enter Shrek Academy." When Deng Mu comes to Shrek Academy, he would be able to know immediately. Looking at the token in Yan Shao's hand, Deng Mu thought for a moment, took the token and said, "Thank you." He wasn't very surprised by Yan Shaosh giving him the token. He had noticed earlier that Yan Shaosh had been watching him, and he guessed that the idea of inviting him to Shrek Academy had already popped into his mind a long time ago. "Goodbye. Little Mu, remember to come find me after you arrive at Shrek Academy." "Okay." After saying goodbye to Ma Xiaorotao and the others, Tang Hao took Deng Mu and left. Seeing Deng Mu and Tang Hao leave, Yan Shaosh took Ma Xiaorotao and left. "Goodbye, grandfather." Tang Hao responded to Deng Mu's words and then quickly left. Seeing Tang Hao leave, Deng Mu turned and walked in the direction of home. System, for the second person to bind, I choose the Beihu Duke's Hua Yuhao. Deng Mu didn't even think about it and chose Hua Yuhao without hesitation. He definitely had to bind someone like this cheetah. Things like million-year spirit rings were just nice to think about. He had already thought it through. If he had a million-year spirit ring, he would definitely give it to the Clear Sky Hammer. Perhaps the Clear Sky Hammer would directly evolve into the Great Sumeru Hammer. At that time, it wouldn't drain his spirit power. To avoid binding the wrong person, he had even seen the Beihu Duke, lest he bind someone else. Ding, binding failed. Looking at the prompt in front of him, Deng Mu revealed a confused expression. This shouldn't be right. He could bind Tang San, so why couldn't he bind Hua Yuhao? Could it be that Hua Yuhao had reached the legendary author realm? Deng Mu silently asked the system in his heart, "System, this shouldn't be right. Why can't Hua Yuhao be bound?" Reply to host, "The target does not exist." Learning that Hua Yuhao didn't exist, Deng Mu revealed a confused expression. What's the situation? Hua Yuhao doesn't exist. Could it be that Hua Yuhao is actually called Dai Yuhao? Deng Mu was confused for a while, then said, "Then, bind the Beihu Duke's Dai Yuhao." Ding, binding failed. Looking at the prompt in front of him, Deng Mu was once again confused. What exactly was happening? Could it be that Hua Yuhao was killed by another transmigration user? That shouldn't be right. It's impossible that he was just shot on the wall, right? After thinking for a moment, Deng Mu suddenly thought of a possibility he didn't dare to imagine. Because he thought of whether it was possible that the Hua Yuhao of this world was a girl. If it were a girl, then what would Dai Yuhao be called? Dai Xyroma Hu Xyroma, Dai Yua. Deng Mu thought for a moment and said to the system, "System, bind the Beihu Duke's Hua Yutong." If this still didn't work, then when that cheetah went to the Stardew Great Forest, he would have to ask for that cheetah's name properly. Ding, successfully bound the Beihu Duke's Hua Yutong. Chapter 29, Mother picks up someone. Good grief. Listening to the sound of the system binding successfully, Deng Mu felt incredibly surprised. Good grief, Hua Yuhao had actually turned into a girl. It was truly outrageous, and he didn't even know what to say. Deng Mu was suddenly curious about who Tang San intended to use to win over Hua Yutong. It couldn't possibly be Tang Wutong, right, making them engage in a lesbian romance. Just thinking about the image of Tang Wutong and Hua Yutong together, he felt it was actually quite nice. However, he was a bit curious about what the female version of Hua Yutong would look like. Forget it, cultivating properly is the only way to go. After letting his mind wander for a moment, Deng Mu sped up and walked towards home. A year passed in the blink of an eye. Tang Ye and Jiang Nanan graduated from the Northern City Elementary Spirit Master Academy and headed to Shrek Academy to register. During this year, Deng Mu followed Tang Hao to learn the Clear Sky 9 Absolutes and the Clear Sky Body Protection. Tang Hao did not teach Deng Mu the Great Sumeru Hammer and Ring Explosion because Tang Hao felt it was unnecessary. Ring Explosion would only be used in desperate situations. With them guarding him, such a situation would never happen, so he didn't teach the Ring Explosion and Great Sumeru Hammer. Sai, both my sister and Little Ye have gone to Shrek Academy, and now only Mother and I are left. Deng Mu sat on the bed and couldn't help but sigh. Northern City was very far from Shrek Academy. To avoid missing the registration at Shrek Academy, Jiang Nanan and Tang Ye had to head there in advance. Otherwise, they would miss the registration. Although the Tang Sect had a quota, if they missed the time, they would have to wait until next year. With Tang Ye and Jiang Nanan's current rank, there was no need to worry about not being able to enter Shrek Academy. If they too couldn't get into Shrek Academy, then very few people would be able to enter Shrek Academy. Deng Mu got off the bed, came out of the bedroom, and went to the living room to drink some water. Little Mew, look what I brought back. Hearing his mother's words, Deng Mu looked towards the front door while drinking water. He saw Yan Yuhua walking and carrying a girl, who was covered in dirt. Cough, cough. When Deng Mu saw the child in Yan Yuhua's arms, he couldn't help but spit out the water in his mouth and coughed a few times. Mother had picked up another person. Could it be that Mother had some kind of picking up people physique? The first one was him, and the second was this unknown girl. This girl had silver hair, and her face was so dirty that her appearance couldn't be distinguished. Her clothes were coarse hemp, also filthy, no different from a beggar. Looking at the girl, Deng Mu asked Yan Yuhua with some curiosity, "Mom, where did you pick this person up?" Yan Yuhua entered the living room and said, "Outside the city. I went out today and saw this child in the wild. I couldn't bear to see her unconscious alone outside, so I brought her back." She couldn't help but sigh that this child was truly lucky not to have been eaten by the spirit beasts in the wild. Listening to Yan Yuhua's words, Deng Mu didn't know what to say. He felt that his mother truly had a talent for picking up people in the wild. If she went outside the city again, she might even pick up another child. "Go quickly and draw some hot water. I want to give this child a good wash." Understood. Deng Mu turned and went to the bathroom to prepare a bucket of hot water for the girl. After the hot water was ready, Yan Yuhua carried the girl to the bathroom to give her a bath. Half an hour later, Yan Yuhua had cleaned the girl thoroughly. "Mom, how is this little sister?" Deng Mu entered the bedroom and curiously asked Yan Yuhua about the condition of the girl on the bed. The washed girl looked very beautiful, even better looking than Jiang Nanan and Tang Ye. Yan Yuhua looked at the girl on the bed and said, "She has a lot of injuries on her body. It is estimated that she was frequently abused." Hearing Yan Yuhua's words, Deng Mu thought for a moment and used the blue-silver rejuvenation technique to treat the girl. The injuries on the girl's body began to recover slowly. In a short while, the injuries were all healed, but Deng Mu was not sure if there were any internal injuries. "Oh no, there is still porridge in the kitchen." Deng Mu suddenly remembered the porridge he had cooked for the girl and quickly ran to the kitchen. After the porridge was cooked, Deng Mu carried a bowl of porridge back to the bedroom. Upon returning to the bedroom, he saw that the girl had already woken up and was talking to his mother. Deng Mu looked at Yan Yuhua and asked, "Mom, what are you two talking about?" Seeing Deng Mu carrying a bowl of porridge, Yan Yuhua took it and said, "I was asking about her family, planning to send her back after she recovers. I don't know if it's because of a head injury or some other reason, but she has lost her past memories and only knows that her name is Nea." When he heard the name Nea, Deng Mu couldn't help but frown. Hearing this name, he subconsciously thought of Gu Yuina. As soon as he thought of this person, Deng Mu rejected this thought without hesitation. What a joke! Gu Yuina was still in the Stardew Great Forest, recovering from her injuries at this time, and would need about 10,000 years to recover. How could she have turned into a human and come out early? And even if Gu Yuina had recovered early, it was unlikely that she would turn into a human and run out alone now. Besides, she had vicious beasts protecting her. It was impossible for her to end up like this, and this wasn't the period of the third installment of the series. Unless Gu Yuina was bored out of her mind, he couldn't think of any other possibility. It was probably just a coincidence, Deng Mu thought to himself. Deng Mu felt he was being a bit neurotic, subconsciously thinking of Gu Yuina whenever he heard someone's name. There was no point in Gu Yuina approaching him. It couldn't be that she was lusting after him, right? The premise of lusting after him was that they had met. They had never met. He had only been to the Stardew Great Forest once and hadn't gone deep inside. With Tang Hao following him, Gu Yuina would definitely be hiding well. How could she possibly come out to check the situation? Even if she were to check the situation, she would only send her subordinates out. However, having an extra companion made him quite happy. He could chat with her and stuff. Deng Mu thought for a moment and asked, "Mother, are we keeping her or what?" Yan Yuhua blew on the porridge and fed Nea while saying, "Let's keep her at home to recover first. It's not like we're short of this one meal for her." Learning that his mother wanted to keep her, Deng Mu was not surprised at all. If she didn't keep her, that would be what surprised him. One had to know that he was only able to stay because of his mother's kindness. If his mother hadn't had that bit of kindness, he estimated that he would have already transmigrated to another world. Nea looked at Deng Mu timidly and said, "Brother, please don't make Nea leave, okay?" Deng Mu reached out, patted Nea's head and said, "Nea, don't worry, brother won't chase Nea away." Hearing Nea call him brother, Deng Mu felt incredibly satisfied. Having a younger sister was quite nice. Looking at Nea in front of him, Deng Mu thought to himself. Seeing that Deng Mu had no intention of chasing her away, Nea continued to eat the porridge fed by Yan Yuhua. Chapter 30, Tang San's Actions. She couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. She had thought that Deng Mu had discovered something and wanted to drive her away. She was responsible for observing Deng Mu, while leaving the task of building favorability to Bai Jai. Initially, she wanted to send Zai Jai, but given Zai Jai's personality, it was unlikely that Deng Mu would develop any affection for her. As for Bai Jai, she looked like an extremely kind person at first glance, the type that children like to be close to, making it easier to build favorability with Deng Mu. Watching Nea like this, Yan Yuhua felt incomparably heartbroken. "It hurts, Mom, why did you hit me? From today on, you must protect this little sister well, understand?" "Understood." Having been suddenly tapped by Yan Yuhua, Deng Mu couldn't help but clutch his head, looking exactly like Tom clutching his head after being hit. He thought to himself that Mom really had a new child and had forgotten about him. After sighing, Deng Mu slipped away to the secret base to train. On the way to the secret base, Deng Mu began to ponder who would be the best choice for this lucky person. After thinking for a moment, Deng Mu felt that the Golden Dragon King was more cost-effective. He could leech off the Golden Dragon King's bloodline, and if he bound Gu Yuina later, he might even be able to become the Dragon God himself. Damn! He had bound the wrong person for the second time. He should have bound the Golden Dragon King, that blockhead. Deng Mu patted his head, calling himself a pig-brained idiot in his heart. He should think more carefully when binding people in the future. What is her goal? Tang San looked at Nea, talking to himself, pondering Nea's goal. Yesterday, his father came to the God Realm and told him that there was a divine rank powerhouse in the Stardew Great Forest, who had likely existed for a long time. He had been to the core area of the Stardew Great Forest and knew that deep within the core area was the Life Lake. This lake possessed rich life force and was an excellent place for healing. De Ming had once lived in the Life Lake, and after being resurrected, he went to the Clear Sky Sect. Being an existence that could make Da Ming stand guard, and also being a divine rank powerhouse, he quickly thought of the Silver Dragon King, the second-generation spirit beast co-ruler. The Silver Dragon King, whom the gods of the God Realm had been searching for so many years, was actually hiding in the Life Lake, which truly surprised him. Knowing the Silver Dragon King was in the Life Lake, Tang San had his own little schemes. He wanted to control the Silver Dragon King, so he began to monitor the Life Lake, waiting for an opportunity. If the Silver Dragon King could be used by him, he could plan many more things. Just as he was thinking about how to control the Silver Dragon King, he discovered a girl appearing from the life lake, leaving the Stardew Great Forest and walking towards the area where his son was. This showed him an opportunity to control the Silver Dragon King. Without hesitation, he sealed her memories and tossed her near Yan Yuhua. He intended for his son to control the Silver Dragon King through love. If the Silver Dragon King became his daughter-in-law, wouldn't she listen obediently? Although he intended for that person to become Deng Mu's wife, it didn't affect the Silver Dragon King becoming his daughter-in-law. Men, having 3 wives and 4 concubines is quite normal. Besides, Deng Mu was his son. It was his responsibility to expand the Tang clan's lineage. It's time to go see the goddess of life and let her know of Ma's existence. Tang San stood up, left the god realm's central hub, and flew rapidly toward the direction of the Forest of Life. The Forest of Life was where the goddess of life resided. Usually, the goddess of life stayed there and rarely went elsewhere. If she did go out, it was generally to find the god of destruction. Before long, Tang San arrived at the place where the goddess of life was. Seeing Tang San arrive, the goddess of life stood up and came before Tang San. "See God." She was a bit puzzled. Why did Tang San suddenly come to see her? It felt somewhat wrong. Although she said she didn't participate in matters between her husband and Tang San, she was very clear about many things in her heart. Tang San coming over suddenly meant there must be something going on, and this matter was likely a big deal. Looking at the goddess of life before him, Tang San smiled slightly and said, "My sudden visit today is my fault. Please forgive me, goddess of life." Hearing this, the goddess of life smiled and waved her hand, saying, "It's fine, please sit, see God." The two sat facing each other, and the goddess of life poured a cup of tea for herself and Tang San. Tang San was not in a hurry to state his purpose. Instead, he picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea. This tea was considered a good thing. The tea leaves were carefully cultivated by the goddess of life, and he liked it very much. After drinking it, just as Tang San was about to say it was good tea, his expression changed slightly, but he quickly returned to normal. Seeing this scene, the goddess of life asked, "See God, what is wrong with you?" Upon hearing this, Tang San put down the teacup. "It's an old ailment, it's not your tea, goddess of life." He cursed silently in his heart. This ailment didn't come early or late, but had to come at this exact moment. The goddess of life suggested, "See God, let me take a look for you." In terms of healing, she dared to say she was second to none. Helping Tang San cure an ailment was a simple matter. Furthermore, it would allow Tang San to owe her a favor, which was a very good thing. Listening to the goddess of life's words, Tang San refused without even thinking. No need, I'm almost better. No need to trouble the goddess of life." What a joke! This matter must absolutely not be known by the goddess of life. If she knew, that would mean the god of destruction knew. If the god of destruction knew that he had a problem there, he could laugh himself to death. The reason the god of destruction didn't have children was because their life force and destruction energy conflicted, making it impossible to have children. Moreover, intimate contact would cause harm to the goddess of life, so the two of them essentially had a platonic relationship. Otherwise, it would be unlikely for the two of them to live separately. Listening to Tang San's words, the goddess of life was somewhat puzzled and didn't say much more. This was Tang San's own choice. Tang San thought for a moment and said, "Goddess of life, there is one thing I would like to trouble you with." Hearing this, the goddess of life asked with some curiosity, "See God, please speak." She was very curious in her heart what Tang San needed her help with. Tang San waved his hand, and a light screen appeared before the two, displaying Deng Mu practicing the disorder-splitting wind hammer method. Looking at Deng Mu in the image, the goddess of life thought he was quite good, but she was somewhat puzzled about what Tang San wanted to do. Tang San introduced Deng Mu to the goddess of life. "This child is named Deng Mu. He is someone I took a liking to a while ago. I need to go into seclusion for a period of time, and I would like to ask the goddess of life to help me look after this child." Learning that Deng Mu was someone Tang San had taken a liking to, the goddess of life re-examined the Deng Mu in the image. The goddess of life was very clear about Tang San's judgment. It was impossible for Tang San to choose someone with average talent. This child's talent must be extremely excellent. As for his character, it must also be good, but as to what he was specifically like, that was hard to say. Chapter 31, single chapter regarding some settings of the system. After looking at the suggestions provided by others, the author re-examined the system settings and found there were indeed some issues. Following that reader's suggestion, the system settings from Chapter 1 will be changed so that when the host is attacked by others, the damage will be transferred to the bound person. As for damage the host inflicts upon themselves, it will be converted into equivalent damage based on the bound person's strength, continuing until the bound person dies, at which point the damage will be transferred to other bound persons. Also, the condition of obtaining everything upon the bound person's death will be changed to, once the bound person is completely dead, the host can obtain everything the other party left behind. Chapter 32, The Thoughts of the God of Destruction. However, this child is still young, so his personality and such can still be shaped normally. The goddess of life looked at Deng Mu and, noticing something, asked, "See God, why haven't you given your legacy to him?" Tang San smiled and explained to the goddess of life, "It is like this, Deng Mu is currently too young. Giving him the god trials too early would only harm him. I plan to wait until he is a bit older before giving them to him." Hearing Tang San's words, the goddess of life nodded in complete agreement. Deng Mu really is too young right now, he needs to be tempered properly. A thought popped into the mind of the goddess of life. She wanted to poach Deng Mu, as she was extremely satisfied with him. The only pity was that Deng Mu was too young and did not have a wife yet. It would be even better if he had a wife. Wait! The goddess of life realized at this moment that Deng Mu possessed two spirits. One was the blue-silver emperor, and the other was the clear sky hammer. She discovered that Deng Mu's clear sky hammer was evolving towards a divine rank weapon, and she understood why Tang San had taken a fancy to Deng Mu. For a child with such talent, any other god who discovered him would also have the thought of passing their own legacy to this child. God positions have both advantages and disadvantages, but for her, it was fine. She and Little Zai could never have children. Little Zai was destruction condensate, and she was the ancient tree of life. Although she grew within the destruction condensate, they were fundamentally in conflict, so it was impossible for them to have children. The most awkward thing was that her divine artifact was the ancient tree of life, but the ancient tree of life was her. She hadn't told anyone about this because it was truly embarrassing. I will help you keep an eye on that child. Many thanks. It's nothing, forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Seeing that the goddess of life had agreed, Tang San thought to himself that she had finally taken the bait. Given his son's excellence, he could naturally make the goddess of life take a fancy to him. Once the goddess of life took a fancy to him, she would definitely tell the god of destruction about this matter. The god of destruction, upon knowing this, would definitely cause trouble. He might even try to snatch Ma and make Deng Mu his successor. He would likely observe Ma for a while and then give him some trials. If Ma passed the trials, the couple would bestow the god trials upon him. After chatting with the goddess of life for a while, Tang San found an excuse and hurriedly left the forest of life. Watching Tang San's retreating figure, the goddess of life fell into deep thought. After a while, the goddess of life contacted the god of destruction and arranged to meet at their old spot. Although the two of them were husband and wife, they were not very accustomed to where the other lived, so they chose a neutral place to meet. After notifying the god of destruction, the goddess of life flew towards the agreed-upon location and arrived there after a short while. The god of destruction had arrived early and was waiting for the goddess of life. Seeing her arrive, he revealed a faint smile. The goddess of life came before the god of destruction. "Little Zai, I have something to tell you." Following that, the goddess of life told the god of destruction about Tang San's visit. As the wife of the god of destruction, her heart naturally leaned towards him, but when it came to handling matters of the god realm, she could only remain silent. Hearing the words of the goddess of life, the god of destruction could not help but fall into deep thought. He had not expected that Tang San would actually find a successor. He estimated that Tang San would pass the Asura god position to Deng Mu. Once that child became the Asura god, he would definitely lean towards Tang San. After all, it was Tang San who passed the position to Deng Mu, so Deng Mu would owe Tang San a favor. Furthermore, Deng Mu was so young. If Tang San were to teach him for a time, Deng Mu would become Tang San's person. Thinking about someone joining Tang San's camp gave the god of destruction a massive headache. He felt that it wouldn't be long before their entire god realm belonged to Tang San. The second-generation god of evil and the second-generation god of kindness had absolutely no real power. The first-generation god of kindness and god of evil had tampered with their god positions, and they didn't even have divine artifacts. They were just two figureheads. If the first-generation god of kindness and god of evil wanted to return, they could do so at any time. And the second-generation god of evil and god of kindness would have no chance to resist. The god of kindness and the god of evil really were two old foxes. The god of destruction thought to himself, feeling inexplicably weary. Among the 5 great god kings, he was the only one who worried and labored for their entire god realm. That guy Tang San wanted to turn the god realm into his own personal property, while the second-generation god of kindness and god of evil were just two figureheads. As for Little Green, she didn't need to worry about the affairs of the god realm. As her husband, he would worry about the affairs of the god realm for her. The goddess of life held the hand of the god of destruction and said, "Little Zai, I have an idea. I want to cultivate that child to be our successor and have him inherit our god positions." Hearing the words of the goddess of life, the god of destruction initially wanted to refuse outright, but looking at her, he hesitated. For some reason, he vaguely felt that this was a conspiracy by Tang San, but he had no evidence to prove it. The god of destruction pondered for a moment. "There is no rush for this matter. Let us observe for a period of time first and then test that child. If that child passes our assessment, we will grant him the god trials." The goddess of life nodded in agreement upon hearing the words of the god of destruction, feeling that this method was quite good. This way, they could confirm whether it was a conspiracy by Tang San. After all, the god kings all knew Tang San's personality. When Tang San had sought her out earlier, she had been somewhat puzzled and didn't quite understand why he had come to her, and even asked her to look after his successor. After the two finished discussing this matter, they began to dote on each other. "Little brother, sorry to disturb you, but I have something I would like to ask you." Deng Mu, who was training the disorder-splitting wind hammer method, could not help but stop upon hearing the gentle voice behind him. Deng Mu withdrew the clear sky hammer and looked behind him, seeing a beautiful woman. The woman had long emerald green hair, and her eyes were also emerald green. She had a slender figure and wore an aqua green long dress, with her exposed arms as white and tender as lotus roots. Looking at this woman, Deng Mu thought to himself that she was definitely not ordinary. A great beauty, alone in the wild. No matter how one thought about it, one knew the other party was definitely not an ordinary person. If this woman were an ordinary person alone in the wild, there would only be 2 possibilities. The first possibility was being eaten by a spirit beast, and the second possibility was being kidnapped by bandits. The woman smiled and walked up to Deng Mu, introducing herself. "Little brother, my name is Bai Jai. I came to the North City to visit relatives, but I accidentally got lost. Do you know where the North City is?" Hearing Bai Jai's words, Deng Mu subconsciously thought of Bai Jai, one of the 10 great vicious beasts, but quickly dismissed the thought. How could that be? How could it be such a coincidence? However, he still needed to be careful. It was better to keep his guard up. Chapter 33, Gentle Big Sister Bai Jai. Deng Mu snapped out of it, looked at Bai Jai in front of him and said, "I know, I am from North City." Upon learning that Deng Mu was from North City, Bai Jai revealed an extremely joyful expression. "Little brother, I wonder if you could take me to North City. I can pay you." "Sure, but money isn't necessary. It's just showing the way and I'm going back anyway." Deng Mu listened to Bai Jai's words, thought about it, and agreed to take Bai Jai there. He wasn't very worried that Bai Jai might be a bad person. The injuries he sustained would all transfer to Tang San, and if Tang San died, the injuries would transfer to the next person. The two walked toward North City together. On the way, they chatted sporadically. From Bai Jai, he learned that she had come here to visit her aunt. Upon entering North City, Deng Mu bid farewell to Bai Jai and headed in the direction of his home. On the way home, Deng Mu conveniently bought 2 skewers of candied haws. Naya quite liked eating candied haws, so he bought 2 skewers for her. After spending some time together, he understood what this younger sister liked, and that she was somewhat clingy to him. Every day after class, Naya would wait for him at the school gate to go home. The school only held half-day classes. After morning classes, the afternoon was for students to train and cultivate on their own. Students living in North City did not have to board at the school and could live at home. Originally, he lived at the school and only returned home during holidays, but after Naya arrived, he chose to live at home. He had originally wanted to experience the joy of being an older brother, but ended up becoming a workhorse instead. He felt that being either an older brother or a younger brother was not easy at all. "Brother, welcome home. These 2 skewers of candid haws are for you." Seeing Naya at the door, Deng Mu handed the candid haws to her. He felt a bit puzzled. Every time, he could meet Naya at the door right on time, as if she knew exactly when he would return. Naya happily took the candid haws and said to Deng Mu with a smile, "Thank you, brother. Brother, you should eat this skewer." After saying this, she wanted to hand the candid haws in her left hand to Deng Mu. Looking at the candid haws, Deng Mu felt a bit nauseous and quickly waved his hand to decline Naya's kind offer. During this period, he had eaten so many candid haws that he felt like vomiting. Now, seeing them made him feel nauseous. "You ate it yourself, I don't really want any." "All right." Naya nodded obediently, followed Deng Mu back into the living room, sat on a chair, and ate the candid haws. Watching Naya eating the candid haws, Deng Mu was puzzled as to why she liked them so much. It felt just like him before his transmigration, when he couldn't live without cola. Just as Deng Mu was lost in thought, Naya paused, her originally clear eyes becoming deep. Looking at the candid haws in her hand, Naya thought secretly strange. Why is it candid haws again? Why is it that every time I link to this body, it is eating candid haws? This body was used to monitor Deng Mu, and was also responsible for notifying Bai Jai, allowing Bai Jai to build up Deng Mu's favorability. During this period, she had more or less figured out Deng Mu's situation. Deng Mu had been fostered in this family by that divine rank powerhouse, who would come to visit Deng Mu every so often and train him for a while. His personality and character were quite good, and his talent could only be described as a prodigy. She felt he could be recruited. If cultivated properly, he might become a first-class god in the future. As for becoming a god king, it would depend on luck. The only slightly awkward thing was that she had to call this child, who didn't know how many years younger than her he was, brother. It was truly embarrassing. The next day in the morning, Deng Mu woke up early, finished his cultivate of the purple demon eye, left home, and walked toward the school. "What a coincidence, little brother Deng Mu, are you here too?" After walking for a while, Bai Jai's voice came from behind. Deng Mu heard Bai Jai's voice, turned his head to look, and saw her looking at him with a smile. Bai Jai gave Deng Mu the feeling of a gentle big sister next door, and he quite liked this type of girl. Deng Mu looked at Bai Jai and said, "My home is just over there." After speaking, he pointed in the direction of his home, not revealing the exact location of his house. Bai Jai pointed to the house behind her and said, "I live right here. I plan to stay here for a while. Little brother, if you have time, you can come here to hang out with me." Deng Mu glanced at the house Bai Jai pointed to, and nodded to indicate he understood. For some reason, he vaguely felt that it was all too coincidental. After bidding farewell to Bai Jai, Deng Mu arrived at school and went to his class. Listening to the teacher's lecture, Deng Mu couldn't help but yawn. Most of the knowledge the teacher was teaching wasn't as informative as what he knew from reading novels. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly that the useful knowledge of Douluo had all been hidden away by the major powers. However, thinking about it carefully, it was normal. Why would anyone pass on knowledge they had worked so hard to obtain? If hostile forces obtained that knowledge, their strength might advance further, and then they would face the disaster of being wiped out. Even on Earth before his transmigration, that top-tier useful knowledge and technology would be hidden away tightly. If other countries obtained it, they would be able to create even more powerful weapons. In the blink of an eye. The morning passed. After finishing class, Deng Mu left the classroom and walked toward the school gate. Naya and Bai Jai. When Deng Mu reached the gate, he saw Bai Jai and Naya walking toward him. Seeing Deng Mu standing at the gate, Naya happily ran toward him. "Brother!" While calling out to Deng Mu, Naya threw herself into his arms. Seeing Naya throw herself at him, Deng Mu caught her and looked at her with some helplessness. He had told her many times before not to come and pick him up, but Naya still came. Deng Mu looked at Bai Jai and said with a smile, "Big sister Bai Jai, what a coincidence. How come you are with my younger sister?" Bai Jai explained to Deng Mu, "I saw someone trying to take Naya away on the road, so I stepped in and saved her. She told me she was looking for you, so I brought her to find you." Upon learning that Bai Jai had saved Naya, Deng Mu's favorability toward Bai Jai increased significantly, and he quickly thanked her. "Big sister Bai Jai, thank you." Looking at Naya in his arms with a bit of a headache, he realized that the reason he didn't want Naya to come and pick him up was precisely because he was worried about this kind of thing. Naya looked at Deng Mu with a somewhat aggrieved expression. "Brother, Naya knows she was wrong. In the future, she will obediently listen to brother." The matter of bad people wanting to take her away was complete nonsense, fabricated just to give Deng Mu a better impression of Bai Jai. Listening to Naya's words, Deng Mu said with some helplessness, "All right, from now on, you just wait for me obediently at home. If you do this again next time, I will spank your bottom." Naya nodded quickly, promising Deng Mu that she would wait for him obediently at home in the future. Chapter 34, Big Sister, A Child Won't Do. Deng Mu looked at Bai Jai. "Big sister Bai Jai, it's just about time for lunch. Why don't you come to my house for a meal?" Bai Jai thought for a moment and replied, "All right, then I'll be intruding." The three of them walked toward home together, chatting idly on the way back. Deng Mu felt a bit suspicious in his heart, sensing that Bai Jai had some kind of motive. Could it be that Bai Jai has a pedophilia fetish? Is she trying to prey on me? Thinking of this possibility, Deng Mu couldn't help but gasp, looking at Bai Jai with a strange expression. The reason he thought this was because it was simply too coincidental. Meeting yesterday could be considered a coincidence, but he had met her again this morning, and then again at noon. Either she was lusting after his body, or she had some sinister scheme. Bai Jai noticed Deng Mu looking at her with a strange expression, and secretly wondered if Deng Mu had discovered something. Thinking of this possibility, Bai Jai couldn't help but swallow, not knowing what was best to say. Naya noticed the atmosphere was off, hugged Deng Mu's arm and said, "Brother, I want to eat candied haws." Deng Mu snapped out of his thoughts upon hearing Naya and said somewhat sternly, "No, you can eat when we get home. If you eat candied haws now, you won't be able to eat much when we get back." Now he was increasingly suspicious about whether those candied haws had something added to them. Otherwise, how could he explain why Naya liked eating them so much? Seeing that Deng Mu was no longer thinking about it, Bai Jai quietly breathed a sigh of relief. If she were discovered, things would be difficult. If the other party notified that expert to come over, she would be finished. She had absolutely no combat ability, only healing abilities. If that expert came, she would have no chance to escape. The final result would be that she would be captured by that expert, imprisoned, and become Deng Mu's spirit ring. She knew through the Lord that Deng Mu was a spirit master of the support system. As an emerald swan, she was extremely suitable for a spirit master of the support system. How could that expert possibly let her go? Fortunately, the Lord interrupted Deng Mu's thinking, otherwise she would have been finished. Naya listened to Deng Mu's words, looking a bit unhappy. All right, I'll buy you candied haws in the afternoon. My brother is the best to me." Upon learning that Deng Mu would buy her candied haws in the afternoon, Naya smiled very happily. In her heart, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, while also feeling a bit embarrassed. She couldn't understand why she had a brain fart and let Bai Jai follow, nearly exposing herself just now. It wouldn't matter if she were discovered. This body was only for monitoring Deng Mu, so losing it was no big deal. But if Bai Jai were gone, that would be a huge loss. With Bai Jai's healing abilities, no one or spirit beast on the entire Douluo Continent could compare to her. After returning home, Deng Mu told Yan Yuhua about Bai Jai. Upon learning that Bai Jai had saved Naya, Yan Yuhua was very grateful and held Bai Jai's hand, saying, "Young Miss Bai Jai, thank you so much. If it weren't for you, Naya would be doomed." Although Naya was not her child, she had already come to treat Naya as her own. She liked the well-behaved and sensible Naya very much. If Naya were kidnapped, given her looks, she would definitely become a plaything for some noble lord. Becoming a plaything for a noble lord would not lead to a good ending. Bai Jai was unaccustomed to being held tightly by the hand by Yan Yuhua and said, "It's nothing, just a small gesture." Deng Mu looked at Yan Yuhua and said, "All right, Mom, let's eat." Hearing Deng Mu's words, Yan Yuhua nodded to show she understood and invited Bai Jai to sit down. Seeing this, Bai Jai sat at the dining table and ate a hearty lunch with Deng Mu and the others. She liked the food Yan Yuhua made very much. After finishing lunch, Bai Jai bid farewell to Deng Mu and the others and left Deng Mu's house. Looking at Bai Jai's retreating figure, Deng Mu couldn't help but ponder once more, intending to probe Bai Jai to see what her true purpose was. In the blink of an eye, 2 months passed. I can be certain now, big sister Bai Jai wants to prey on me. Deng Mu sat on the bed, recalling the events of this period. He was now more and more certain that Bai Jai was a big pervert with a pedophilia fetish. It really surprised him. He hadn't expected such a beautiful woman like Bai Jai to have such strange hobbies. The reason he thought this was because he could coincidentally meet her every day, and she would give him many delicious things, though most of the delicious things were eaten by Naya. At first, he suspected that Bai Jai approaching him was some kind of sinister scheme, but now he increasingly felt that Bai Jai was just lusting after his body, which was simply too outrageous. He needed to guard against her properly. If he fell into her trap, something big would happen. Although Bai Jai gave him the feeling of a gentle big sister and had saved Naya, since he had discovered her purpose, he still had to be on guard. "Little Mu, what are you doing alone in the bedroom?" Just as Deng Mu was thinking about how to guard against Bai Jai pushed open the bedroom door, walked in, and asked Deng Mu with a smile. Over the past few months of getting along, her relationship with Yan Yuhua had become very good, and sometimes Yan Yuhua would even let her stay the night. Hearing Bai Jai's words, Deng Mu asked subconsciously, "Big sister Bai Jai, what is your purpose exactly?" Hearing Deng Mu's words, Bai Jai subconsciously swallowed, and cold sweat kept breaking out. He discovered it. Bai Jai couldn't understand how she had been exposed. She had clearly followed the Lord's instructions, constantly getting close to Deng Mu and building a good relationship with him. She hadn't expected Deng Mu to discover it. Thinking that the divine rank expert might be all around her, Bai Jai felt incomparable fear in her heart. It was impossible to get help from the Lord now, because the Lord had been taken out by Yan Yuhua to buy things, and even if she were to return, it would still take some time, enough time to finish her off. At this moment, Deng Mu wanted to slap himself. How could he have asked that subconsciously? Now that only he and Bai Jai were at home, if Bai Jai wanted to force herself on him, wouldn't he be finished? However, looking at her nervous expression, it confirmed what he thought. It really was like that. "Big sister Bai Jai, I'm still a child, don't have any strange thoughts about me." Bai Jai was stunned for a moment hearing Deng Mu's words, but quickly realized that the two of them were not on the same page. She thought Deng Mu had discovered her motive, while Deng Mu thought she had some strange hobby. Forget it, let it be a misunderstanding. Recalling their time together, she really did have a big problem. She had been looking for Deng Mu too diligently. Those who didn't know might think she really had strange thoughts about Deng Mu. Bai Jai thought secretly in her heart. At least she hadn't exposed her true purpose. Then she would just let the misunderstanding continue and complete the Lord's mission. Chapter 35, A Speechless Gu Yuina. Since Deng Mu misunderstood, that divine rank expert definitely wouldn't be nearby. Thinking of this, Bai Jai couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Bai Jai's face flushed slightly as she said to Deng Mu, "Little Mu, how did you discover that I like you?" Deng Mu was somewhat surprised that Bai Jai admitted it so quickly. He had thought Bai Jai would refuse to admit it to the death. However, he always felt that something was a bit off. Regarding Bai Jai's question, Deng Mu thought for a moment and answered, "It's very simple. Every time the two of us run into each other, it's just too coincidental, so coincidental that it makes me feel like you did it on purpose." Listening to Deng Mu's answer, Bai Jai thought to herself that it was as expected. It was exactly the same as what she had thought. She thought inwardly that the master's arrangements were really a bit too hasty. This kind of matter should be approached slowly and should not be rushed too much. Fortunately, Deng Mu misunderstood. Otherwise, she would currently be locked in a dark, sunless dungeon and would only be released after Deng Mu became a titled Douluo. The day she was released would be the day of her death. She didn't really believe that the master would fight a great battle against a divine rank expert for her sake, and furthermore, this would cause the master to expose her location. If those gods in the god realm knew where the master was located, they would definitely go to eliminate the master without hesitation. If the master were gone, then they, the spirit beasts, would have no future. Baijai asked somewhat embarrassedly, "Little Mu, do you like your big sister?" Listening to Baijai's words, the corners of Deng Mu's mouth couldn't help but twitch a few times. Even though he had pointed it out, Baijai actually still wouldn't give up, coveting his body. Deng Mu sighed and said, "Big sister, I have a pretty good impression of you, but the age gap between us is too large." Baijai sat down beside Deng Mu. "Big sister can wait for you. Little Mu, can you give me a chance? If after you grow up you don't like Big sister will choose to leave." Seeing that Baijai wouldn't give up, Deng Mu sighed and began to ponder in his heart. After pondering for a moment, Deng Mu looked at Baijai and nodded, "Fine, but before I agree to you, don't do anything strange." Listening to Deng Mu's words, Baijai smiled and agreed, then pulled Deng Mu into her embrace. She had to play the part fully. From now on, she would be a gentle big sister who coveted Deng Mu's body. It's just that she didn't know what the master would think if she knew about this matter. Deng Mu, being held by Baijai, turned incredibly red in the face, silently chanting form is emptiness in his heart. "Well, I'll be going first. Bye-bye." Baijai hugged him for a while, then suddenly remembered something. Her face turned very red, and she hurriedly said to Deng Mu. Seeing that Baijai was about to leave, Deng Mu said goodbye to Baijai without even thinking. Deng Mu thought for a moment and continued to cultivate. Reaching rank 30 at age 12 was a certainty, but as for exactly what rank he could reach, he couldn't say. If the Clear Sky Hammer evolved into the Great Sumeru Hammer, he estimated that the cultivate speed would become very slow, though it was also possible it wouldn't be affected. Regardless, it was better to cultivate properly. If by any chance the Clear Sky Hammer sucked away his rank, that would be embarrassing. After returning home, Baijai contacted Naya. She now had to tell the master about this matter and see how the master intended to handle it. After a while, Naya arrived at Baijai's home and entered the bedroom. Naya looked at Baijai and asked, "Baijai, what's wrong? What happened?" When she received Baijai's message, she was somewhat surprised and at the same time puzzled about what had happened. Baijai first bowed to Naya, then told Naya what had happened previously. Later, listening to what Baijai said, Naya couldn't help but fall into deep thought, not knowing what would be better to say. She had indeed been too hasty. She hadn't discovered the existence of that divine rank expert earlier. She had thought the other party had some business and wouldn't be able to return for a while, so she had let Baijai continuously approach Deng Mu. Now that she thought about it carefully, she had been truly foolish. If she had let Baijai make contact slowly, Deng Mu would not have discovered that Baijai had any ulterior motives. She felt a bit relieved in her heart. Fortunately, Deng Mu hadn't discovered their true purpose and had only misunderstood that Baijai was a pervert. If Deng Mu had discovered their true purpose, then Baijai would be done for. She would be caught by that divine rank expert, then imprisoned in a secret place, and would eventually become Deng Mu's spirit ring. That way, her loss would be great. Baijai must not have anything happen to her. Baijai was her capable assistant, and from a certain perspective, Baijai's value was even greater than Dai Tian's. As for her, it would just be the loss of one body, which was no big deal. After all, this body was for monitoring Deng Mu. Baijai looked at Naya and asked cautiously, "Master, what should I do now that would be better?" Naya thought for a moment and answered, "Then just let the misunderstanding continue. Since Deng Mu thinks you are a pervert, just act as a pervert. Otherwise, it will expose your purpose, and at that time you will be done for. Even if I wanted to save you, it wouldn't be very possible." She didn't know exactly what strength that divine rank expert had, and she still had quite a few injuries on her body, which would take at least 10,000 years to heal. Even if she weren't injured, it wouldn't be good for her to expose herself. To eliminate that divine rank expert, she would need some time, and during that time, those gods in the god realm would definitely be able to discover her existence. At that time, she would be done for. Listening to Naya's words, Baijai's face turned a bit red. Being a pervert or whatever, she still couldn't quite accept it in her heart. Naya looked at Baijai, who wanted to say something but hesitated, and consoled her. "Baijai, I'm putting you to some trouble. This is for the grand plan of the future." She had already formulated quite a few plans in her heart. and the best plan was to pull Deng Mu onto their side. However, if she wanted Deng Mu to get on the pirate ship, she needed something to bind Deng Mu firmly, otherwise Deng Mu might defect at any time. Having heard what Bai Jai said, an idea popped into her mind. She wanted to let Bai Jai bind Deng Mu firmly, which meant Bai Jai would have to suffer a grievance. She was not worried that Bai Jai would become like that soft bones rabbit. Bai Jai was extremely loyal to her, and would not be like that soft bones rabbit, which forgot its identity as a spirit beast after marrying a human. That sky azure bull python and titan giant ape, because of that soft bones rabbit, didn't know where they had run off to. Listening to Naya's words, Bai Jai sighed. Master, I am a bit worried that after Deng Mu grows up and discovers our purpose, he will become incredibly hostile toward us, and at that time it would be counterproductive. Naya looked at Bai Jai and said, I naturally know about this matter, you will need to suffer a grievance. Listening to Naya's words, Bai Jai wasn't too surprised. She had long expected the master to say this. If Deng Mu hadn't discovered anything unusual, the master would likely not have come up with this idea, but unfortunately, Deng Mu had discovered something amiss. Bai Jai took a deep breath and said, Yes, master, I will find a way to be with Deng Mu. Naya and Bai Jai reformulated the plan to avoid Deng Mu discovering anything amiss once again. Chapter 36, The Third Binding Target. After discussing for a while, Naya left Bai Jai's house and headed towards home. She needed to sound out Deng Mu's impression of Bai Jai to create the possibility for them to be together in the future. Watching Naya's receding figure, Bai Jai felt a mix of complex emotions, sighed, and closed the front door. Brother, can I come in? After returning home, Naya went to Deng Mu's door and knocked on his bedroom door. Hearing Naya's voice, Deng Mu stopped his cultivation, somewhat puzzled, thinking that his mother and Naya should have been out shopping. Given his mother's personality, it was unlikely they'd be back before shopping for the entire morning. Probably Naya couldn't hold out any longer and came back early by herself. This had happened before. Deng Mu thought for a moment and said, Naya, come on in. Upon hearing this, Naya opened the door, entered, and sat down beside Deng Mu. Seeing Naya's hesitant expression, Deng Mu asked curiously, What's wrong, Naya? Is something the matter? Naya took a piece of candy from her pocket and gave it to Deng Mu. Brother, what's your impression of Sister Bai Jai? Hearing Naya's question, Deng Mu understood in his heart that Bai Jai wanted to know from his own mouth what he thought of her. Deng Mu took the candy from Naya, thought for a bit and replied, Not bad, she's been quite nice to me, why do you ask Naya? After speaking, he unwrapped the candy in his hand and fed it to Naya. Naya ate the candy Deng Mu fed her, shook her head and said, Nothing much, just a bit curious. Deng Mu gently tapped Naya's head and asked, Naya, did Sister Bai Jai ask you to come and ask this? Naya covered her forehead, looking somewhat aggrieved, and said, Really, I was just curious about whether brother likes me more or Sister Bai Jai more. Hearing Naya's words, Deng Mu felt both amused and exasperated, thinking to himself, Are people on the Douluo Continent this precocious, thinking about such things at this age? Considering that people on the Douluo Continent could be almost like adults by age 12, it still felt incredibly bizarre. Deng Mu rubbed Naya's forehead and said, Of course brother likes you the most. What kind of messy thoughts are you filling your head with at this age? Hearing Deng Mu's words, Naya looked at him with a beaming smile. She was quite satisfied with his answer. During this period of interaction, her impression of Deng Mu had been quite favorable. All right, Naya, go play. Brother needs to continue cultivating. I know. Naya happily left the room and ran off to play. Watching Naya's retreating figure, Deng Mu smiled helplessly and resumed his cultivation. In the blink of an eye, several years passed. Just as I thought, I've reached rank 33. Deng Mu sensed his own rank and muttered to himself. After becoming a spirit grandmaster, the speed of cultivation slowed down a bit compared to before. Coupled with the clear sky hammer absorbing spirit power, he barely managed to become a spirit elder before turning 12. He had absorbed a 30,000-year-old spirit beast and obtained the third spirit ability, Blue-Silver Spirit Power Amplification. Skill effect: the Blue-Silver Emperor releases a special spirit power fluctuation that resonates with the spirit power of allied targets. significantly boosting their spirit power output for a short duration. After using this skill, the power of allies' spirit abilities is significantly enhanced. The frequency of skill releases also increases, allowing them to unleash more powerful attacks in battle. For example, if an ally's original spirit ability damage was 100, after receiving the amplification from this skill, the damage might increase to 150 or even higher. After some time, he would set off for the Stardew Great Forest to meet the legendary Hua Yutong. He wondered what Hua Yutong was like. He was bored to death staying in North City. Although he had the company of Nea and Bai Jai, he wanted to find some same-age friends of the same gender. Previously, he had been focused entirely on cultivation and hadn't interacted with other kids his age. Besides, they were still too young to really play together. System: for the third binding target, I choose the Golden Dragon King. Without a second thought, Deng Mu chose to bind the Golden Dragon King, that big, simple-minded fellow. Ding successfully bound the Golden Dragon King, beginning to share the Golden Dragon King's blessings. Ding obtained the Golden Dragon King bloodline. Deng Mu was just about to say something upon seeing the prompt in front of him, when he noticed his clear sky hammer was undergoing a change. The reason was that his newly acquired Golden Dragon King bloodline was causing his clear sky hammer to undergo an unknown transformation. Simultaneously, Deng Mu noticed his right arm beginning to dragonize, with golden scales appearing on his right arm. Nea, who was eating something, sensed a familiar aura and revealed a shocked expression. She knew this aura all too well. It was the aura of the Golden Dragon King. Why was there a Golden Dragon King bloodline aura here? Nea double-checked, confirming she wasn't hallucinating. She was certain this was the Golden Dragon King's aura. What surprised her even more was that this aura was coming from Deng Mu's room. Without hesitation, she jumped down from her chair and ran towards Deng Mu's room. Upon entering the room, Nea saw Deng Mu's appearance and revealed an astonished expression. At this moment, Deng Mu was bare-chested. Both his arms had turned into dragon claws, and his originally black pupils had become golden irises. Seeing Nea enter, Deng Mu was startled and hurriedly told her to leave. "Nea, why did you come in? Get out quickly." While speaking, he felt the changes in his body. His physique was now immeasurably stronger than before. Right now, Deng Mu felt that a 10,000-year spirit beast was nothing. Dealing with it would be a breeze. He even dared to fight against a 100,000-year spirit beast. His clear sky hammer had changed. He wasn't entirely clear on the specifics yet. He would check what his clear sky hammer had become after Nea left. Nea looked at Deng Mu, her brain rapidly analyzing what exactly was going on. She had originally thought Deng Mu was the descendant of some divine rank powerhouse. Now it seemed Deng Mu's identity was extraordinary, and he harbored quite a few secrets. Such a pure Golden Dragon King bloodline gave Nea a bad premonition. Could it be that the Golden Dragon King had been dealt with by the gods of the God Realm? Before dying, the Golden Dragon King released its divine core into Deng Mu's body. The gods of the God Realm sealed the Golden Dragon King's divine core and sent Deng Mu to the Douluo Continent to train, slowly absorbing the Golden Dragon King's power. Apart from this possibility, she really couldn't think of any other. Moreover, given the Golden Dragon King's strength, it wouldn't be a match for the gods of the God Realm. Dealing with the Golden Dragon King wouldn't be a troublesome matter. Thinking that the Golden Dragon King was already dead, Nea felt immense anger. She had been planning how to rescue the Golden Dragon King. Now there was no need. Nea's gaze towards Deng Mu changed. She resolved to definitely pull Deng Mu into her camp, no matter the cost. Chapter 37: The Golden Dragon King Breaks the Seal. Deng Mu's future potential was limitless. He would be at least a first-class god, and perhaps he might even inherit the god position of some god king. In her estimation, it would likely be the Asura god or the god of destruction. The god of evil was also a possibility, though not a very likely one. Among the 5 great god kings, the god of kindness and the god of evil were both old foxes, while the Asura god was somewhat hypocritical. Once Deng Mu grew up to become a titled Douluo and married Bai Jai, she would then reveal her true intentions to Deng Mu and recruit him into the Spirit Beast faction. If that didn't work, she would marry Deng Mu herself to bring him into the Spirit Beast faction. This was a last resort, something she would only do if absolutely necessary to become his wife. If the two of them were to marry, their child would very likely possess the Dragon God bloodline. If not, the worst-case scenario would be possessing both the Golden Dragon King bloodline and the Silver Dragon King bloodline. By fusing the two bloodlines, they could also create the Dragon God bloodline. When that time came, she would take the child to that place, and perhaps they could pass the Dragon God's trial. Then, the child could become the Dragon God and lead the spirit beasts back to their peak. However, thinking about having to marry Deng Mu, Naya inexplicably felt a bit shy. The two of them had been together for a long time, and she had developed quite a few positive feelings for Deng Mu, but it hadn't yet reached the level of love. Seeing that Naya had not yet left, Deng Mu somewhat helplessly cancelled his current dragon transformation state. When he cancelled the dragon transformation, Deng Mu felt his clear sky hammer, which had undergone changes, revert back to its original form. He picked up the clothes on the bed and put them on. He had only taken them off earlier to check the condition of his body. Deng Mu walked up to Naya, lightly flicked her forehead and said, "You little pervert, are you blushing just from seeing your brother's body?" He truly hadn't expected Naya to act like a pervert, staring at his body, which made him somewhat uncomfortable. Feeling the pain on her forehead, Naya snapped back to reality, covered her forehead and said, "No, I didn't." Naya didn't blush just from looking at brother's body. As for why she was blushing, Naya knew very well in her heart. She had been thinking about the image of herself and Deng Mu being together and having children. Seeing Naya acting like this, Deng Mu immediately started to chuckle, finding her behavior quite amusing. Watching Deng Mu's expression, Naya stomped her foot and said to him, "Brother, if you keep acting like this, I'm going to get angry. I'll tell Mom that you're bullying me." Hearing this, Deng Mu quickly said, "Naya, brother was wrong. Please don't tell Mother, okay?" Naya crossed her arms, thought for a moment and said, "I can forgive you, but only if you buy me 3 candid whores." Listening to Naya, Deng Mu was left between laughing and crying. He truly didn't understand why Naya liked eating candid whores so much. "Fine, fine, I'll buy you 3 candid whores." "Wait, I've changed my mind. Brother, I want to eat 4 candid whores." "No way, you said you wanted 3 candid whores just a moment ago." "You're the worst, bad brother. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Douluo God Realm, Land of Divine Prohibition. Here, the Golden Dragon King, a part of the Dragon God's evil intent, was sealed. Back then, a part of the god's evil intent transformed into the Golden Dragon King. The Golden Dragon King was hunted down with full force by the God Realm Committee. After reaching the brink of death, it forcibly transformed into an indestructible dragon cocoon and was sealed by the various God Kings in the Land of Divine Prohibition of the Douluo God Realm. The Golden Dragon King suddenly discovered that the seal trapping him had loosened significantly. This astonished him greatly. It was the first time such a situation had occurred since he was sealed. Logically speaking, it was impossible for the seal to loosen on its own. Therefore, there was only one possibility. Someone had secretly undone his seal, wanting him to emerge from it. Although he wasn't exactly sharp, that didn't mean he was a complete fool. So, the Golden Dragon King did not hesitate to choose to strike against the seal, wanting to break out and wreak havoc in the Douluo God Realm. His super intelligence told him that he should use his super strength to solve all problems. After so many years of recovery, his wounds had long since healed. He had simply been waiting for the opportunity of the seal loosening to emerge and take revenge on the 5 great God Kings who had severely wounded him and sealed him in this place. Now that he had waited for this opportunity, he was definitely going to get out. Otherwise, he would be letting down the mastermind behind it. As for the mastermind to the Golden Dragon King, they were not worth mentioning. The fact that the other party chose to release him meant that they completely lacked the strength to defeat him and could only hide in the shadows. He didn't even need to think to know the other party's goal. They hoped he would fight the 5 God Kings and then find an opportunity to ambush them. He wasn't worried about being ambushed at all. Back then, he had been severely injured because the 5 God Kings had joined forces against him. He had learned his lesson and planned to end the battle quickly, eliminating one God King first so that such a thing would not happen again. If he discovered the person hiding in the shadows, he would not hesitate to eliminate them. Bang! Bang! 2 loud bangs rang out, and a behemoth emerged from the land of divine prohibition. The creature's scales shimmered with magnificent brilliance. Each scale was diamond-shaped, and the center point of the two intersecting lines of the diamond was raised, forming 4 ridges. They were thick, solid, and filled with a sharp, piercing aura. It was a terrifying giant dragon, nearly 1,000 shang long, with eyes the color of rubies, filled with a cruel and violent light. This giant dragon was none other than the Golden Dragon King, who had just broken through the seal. Roar! The Golden Dragon King roared at the sky, his massive body carrying unparalleled deterrence as he suddenly soared into the air. Hearing the sound, the god of destruction felt extremely puzzled. Wondering why the Golden Dragon King had appeared, he did not hesitate to rush toward the place where the Golden Dragon King was. He thought rapidly, wondering who could have secretly released the Golden Dragon King. The first person he ruled out was Tang San. He knew in his heart that it definitely wasn't that guy who had done it. Based on his understanding of him, that guy wanted to control the god realm and would never release someone he couldn't control. The second-generation god of kindness and the second-generation god of evil were also ruled out. It couldn't be them either. Their strength was the weakest among all the god kings, and some particularly strong first-class gods could even trade blows with them. As for his wife, impossible, it was absolutely impossible for her to have done it. She had no motive to do such a thing. As for the seal loosening, that was also unlikely. Every so often, they would check and reinforce the seal, so a situation where the seal would loosen would not occur. It was definitely someone behind the scenes causing trouble, releasing the Golden Dragon King. Could it be that a god king from another god realm did it? Apart from this possibility, he really couldn't think of any other, and he truly couldn't think of who had released the Golden Dragon King. God of Destruction. Seeing the god of destruction, the Golden Dragon King roared at him with extreme fury. Chapter 38, The Injured God of Destruction. Among the god kings who had placed the seal on him back then, one of them was the God of Destruction. The God of Destruction looked at the Golden Dragon King before him. Not bothering to speak with the Golden Dragon King, he launched a heaven-destroying and earth-shattering attack directly at him. A massive black lightning ball appeared before the God of Destruction. Along the edges of the entire lightning ball was a layer of blue-purple, containing a storm of destruction, with the intent of destruction reaching its zenith. Immediately after, the black lightning ball rapidly struck toward the Golden Dragon King, intending to annihilate him directly. Watching the black lightning ball hurtling toward him, the Golden Dragon King wore a look of disdain. An attack of this magnitude meant nothing to him. He was a terrifying existence who had inherited the physical strength of the dragon god. He was a divine beast among divine beasts, possessing strength sufficient to rival a supreme god, and even surpassing that of an ordinary supreme god. His divine body was so powerful that even if the god realm were destroyed, he would certainly be able to survive. He would only need to find another world to attach himself to. If the 5 great god kings were to join forces, he might perhaps be afraid, but with only the god of destruction alone, there was absolutely nothing to worry about. The Golden Dragon King's combat power is a bit confusing. According to the settings, the Golden Dragon King's physical strength is at least that of an ordinary supreme god. Even 2 ordinary supreme gods could not defeat him. After checking the materials, I found that the Golden Dragon King is a first-class god, but the author is still following the Golden Dragon King setting from Legend of the God Realm. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded, but it did not cause much damage to the Golden Dragon King. The injured areas healed rapidly, returning to normal in the blink of an eye. The Golden Dragon King launched an attack on the God of Destruction. He was going to treat one of the culprits who had sealed him back then properly. A giant dragon claw swiped toward the God of Destruction. Seeing the giant dragon claw coming toward him, the God of Destruction manifested the scepter of destruction in his hand to block the Golden Dragon King's attack. Having suffered the attack, the God of Destruction could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He was extremely astonished in his heart. The Golden Dragon King had actually recovered so quickly. Who on earth was helping the Golden Dragon King in the shadows? If it were a Golden Dragon King that had not fully recovered, blocking its attack would have been a simple matter for him. But the Golden Dragon King had already fully recovered, which gave him an immense headache. If he couldn't resolve the situation quickly, the God Realm would be destroyed. Back when they dealt with the Golden Dragon King, It took all 5 of them, the God Kings, acting together to beat the opponent to the brink of death. Now he needed to stall for time until his wife and Tang San and the others arrived. This time he must slay the Golden Dragon King. Thinking of this, 5 black lightning balls appeared around the God of Destruction and struck toward the Golden Dragon King. Boom! 5 explosive sounds rang out. But the damage caused by the God of Destruction healed quickly under the Golden Dragon King's terrifying regenerative abilities. While the God of Destruction and the Golden Dragon King were locked in battle, Tang San, the Goddess of Life, and the others rushed toward the location where the God of Destruction was. Other first-class gods, upon sensing the appearance of the Golden Dragon King, rushed toward the location of the Golden Dragon King without hesitation. All the gods were immensely shocked and confused. They were shocked by how the Golden Dragon King had escaped, and confused as to why the Golden Dragon King was in its prime. Quite a few first-class gods knew of that battle back then, and had even watched from afar, so they were very clear about how powerful the Golden Dragon King was. Tang San, while traveling rapidly, was pondering what exactly had happened. Whoever had released the Golden Dragon King deserved to die 1,000 deaths. Although he had not participated in that battle, he had heard the first-generation Asura god describe it, so he knew very well how powerful the Golden Dragon King was. Nowadays, it is rumored everywhere that the first-generation Asura god and the others resolved the Dragon God for the peace of the universe, but not many people know that the Dragon God was only resolved because the Dragon God cooperated. Under the current circumstances, resolving the Golden Dragon King was a very difficult task. He was well aware that Jiadong and Lai Yan had no divine artifacts, and their god positions seemed to have some issues. At the time he had noticed this matter, hurriedly checked his own, and only breathed a sigh of relief after confirming there were no problems. The reason he dared to vie for power with the God of Destruction was precisely because Lai Yan and Jiadong had no real power, and the Goddess of Life completely ignored worldly affairs, leaving only himself and the God of Destruction. At the same time, he understood why the first-generation Asura god, when leaving, had told him to be careful of those 2 old foxes, the God of Kindness and the God of Evil. The Goddess of Life was incredibly anxious along the way. She knew that it was unlikely for the God of Destruction to defeat the Golden Dragon King, and if she didn't arrive in time, the God of Destruction might die. When the gods arrived, they saw the injured God of Destruction fighting the Golden Dragon King. "All right, God of Destruction, you are going to die." The Golden Dragon King looked at the disadvantaged God of Destruction with immense smugness. Initially, he had wanted to kill the God of Destruction, but thinking of how he had been sealed for so many years, he wanted to have some fun with the God of Destruction first. After the Goddess of Life and the others arrived, he would finish off the God of Destruction. When he saw Tang San, Lai Yan, and the others, the Golden Dragon King secretly thought to himself that these 3 people must be the new generation of God Kings. However, among these 3 God Kings, only the new Asura god possessed strength that could be considered decent. The new God of Evil and God of Kindness were far inferior to that Asura god in strength. After eliminating the God of Destruction, he would eliminate the new God of Kindness and God of Evil. With 3 God Kings dead, the Goddess of Kindness and the Asura god would be of no concern. Quick, block his attack. Seeing the God of Destruction, Tang San immediately took the lead to charge forward and save the God of Destruction. The God of Destruction absolutely could not meet with any accident. He could be usurped by him, but if any accident occurred, that would be a major disaster. Upon hearing this, Lai Yan and Jiadong followed Tang San and charged forward. They naturally understood the importance of the God of Destruction. The 3 of them acted together, helping the God of Destruction block the Golden Dragon King's full-force strike. The Goddess of Life quickly came to the side of the God of Destruction, took the God of Destruction away from the battlefield, and began to treat the injuries on his body. "Asura God, what is your name?" The Golden Dragon King asked, looking at Tang San, who had blocked his attack. Looking at the Tang San before him, he inexplicably felt a bit of dislike in his heart, sensing that the opponent was also an old fox. Tang San looked at the Golden Dragon King and said, "Asura God, Tang San." Originally, he wanted to refer to himself as Sea God Tang San, but he thought that since he was currently using the power of the Asura God, it would be better to refer to himself as the Asura God. Having just experienced the Golden Dragon King's full-force strike, Tang San felt that it would be better to end the battle quickly. He recalled what the previous generation of the God of Kindness and the God of Evil had earnestly told him before leaving the God Realm. The Three Realms Judgment Sword was specifically designed to deal with the Golden Dragon King. One day, the Golden Dragon King would find a way to break the seal, and that time would be its demise. If this Golden Dragon King were not removed, it would always be a hidden danger to the God Realm. And in front of the Three Realms Judgment Sword, it would not even have the chance to transform back into a dragon cocoon. Chapter 39 Golden Dragon King, Tang San, do you think I'm stupid? Tang San felt a bit fortunate in his heart. Fortunately, the first-generation God of Kindness and God of Evil had the foresight to leave behind a powerful weapon to deal with the Golden Dragon King. After the Dragon God caused a great catastrophe for the God Realm, the 5 great God Kings reflected painfully and realized that the God Kings were somewhat lacking in offensive means, so they gathered together and researched this Three Realms Judgment Sword. The Goddess of Life and the God of Destruction could also amplify the Three Realms Judgment Sword with the power of life and destruction. If there were no Three Realms Judgment Sword, resolving the Golden Dragon King would be a very troublesome matter. It might result in the deaths of many deities, and it might require using one of the God Realm's 3 great God formations. The 3 great God formations of the God Realm were extremely powerful. Back during the war with the Beast Gods, the 3 great God formations eliminated quite a few Beast Gods. Golden Dragon King, dare you make a bet with me? Looking at the Golden Dragon King in front of him, Tang San said to the Golden Dragon King with a smile. He was very good at betting. Back when he was on the Douluo Continent, he had made many bets. Basically, it was impossible for him to lose a bet. Moreover, for this bet, his win rate was 100%. It was impossible to lose. Lai Yan and Jai Dong on the side were a bit confused, wondering why Tang San had started betting with the Golden Dragon King. If the two of them were the Golden Dragon King, they certainly wouldn't bet with Tang San. It simply had no meaning. Hearing Tang San's words, the Golden Dragon King immediately became interested. Speak, what kind of bet? Seeing that the Golden Dragon King was interested, Tang San thought that the Golden Dragon King had fallen for it, and said, "The 3 of us can severely injure you within 2 moves." Listening to Tang San's words, Lai Yan and Jai Dong immediately understood what Tang San meant. Tang San wanted to take advantage of this bet, to use the Three Realms Judgment Sword to eliminate the Golden Dragon King. They naturally knew about the Three Realms Judgment Sword. It was specifically designed for the Golden Dragon King. Although their god positions had been tampered with, and they didn't have divine artifacts, the first-generation God of Kindness and God of Evil had taught them the Three Realms Judgment Sword. Even if the Golden Dragon King didn't agree, it didn't matter. Other deities could help delay for time, and they could use the Three Realms Judgment Sword to eliminate the Golden Dragon King. However, would the Golden Dragon King really agree? As long as one wasn't a fool, basically no one would agree to this bet. Fine, I agree. The Golden Dragon King was amused upon hearing Tang San's bet, as if he had heard a massive joke. His body's strength could easily withstand most attacks, and when it came to physical strength, he dared to claim second place and no one dared to claim first. If Tang San had said the 5 great God Kings together, he wouldn't have agreed to this bet, but with 3 God Kings attacking together, and 2 of them being much weaker in strength, it was impossible to severely injure him. If we lose, we will let you dispose of us. Fine, if I lose, I will also let you dispose of me. Later. Listening to the conversation between Tang San and the Golden Dragon King, Lai Yan and Jai Dong looked at each other, both wearing expressions of bewilderment. What is going on? He actually agreed. They really hadn't expected that this guy, the Golden Dragon King, would actually agree. Does this guy, the Golden Dragon King, really have no brain? In the distance, the God of Destruction was not at all surprised to hear the conversation between Tang San and the Golden Dragon King. With the Golden Dragon King's brain, hearing this bet from Tang San, he would definitely agree, and besides, this guy Tang San was a gambling fanatic who often made various bets with him. Zyro Wu looked at Tang San with starry eyes. Wow, Brother San is so smart. At first, she didn't understand the situation, but after listening to the reminders from Ning Rongrong and the others, she understood what Brother San's goal was. Brother San is truly worthy of being Brother San. He is really smart. Golden Dragon King, you. Suddenly, the Golden Dragon King slapped Tang San away. Tang San spat out blood, revealing an expression of disbelief. He had lived for so long, and this was the first time it had happened. Reneging on a bet suddenly was simply too despicable. This is too despicable. Seeing Tang San being ambushed by the Golden Dragon King, Zyro Wu said very angrily. She really hadn't expected that someone would actually not abide by a bet. Such behavior of ambushing others was simply too despicable and shameless. Seeing this situation, Ning Rongrong and the others all had expressions of indignation. They hadn't expected the Golden Dragon King to be so shameless. Well done. Watching Tang San being hit, the god of destruction had this thought pop up in his mind. He felt incomparably comfortable and somewhat wanted to rush over himself and give Tang San a slap. In the past, every time Tang San wanted to bet with him, he wanted to slap Tang San, but due to face, he couldn't take action. However, in this situation, he couldn't gloat. After all, Tang San was betting with the Golden Dragon King for the sake of the God Realm. Jai Dong and Lai Yan's thought, good heavens, the Golden Dragon King actually has a brain. The two of them had thought the Golden Dragon King didn't have one. Then the two of them hurriedly retreated, maintaining a distance from the Golden Dragon King, lest they also end up like Tang San, suddenly getting slapped by the Golden Dragon King later. Today, Tang San had lost a great deal of face. If the Golden Dragon King had actually let the three of them attack together, then the Golden Dragon King would have been doomed, and at the same time, Tang San's reputation would have risen significantly. But in this situation, Tang San's reputation had dropped quite a bit. There were many first-class gods and second-class gods here to help. Although it was said to be for the God Realm, this behavior made people feel somewhat embarrassed. Tang San fell to the ground, smashing out a large crater, looking completely disheveled and miserable. At this moment, Tang San truly didn't understand why the Golden Dragon King had suddenly reneged. In theory, with the Golden Dragon King's brain, it was impossible for him to discover his purpose. The Silver Dragon King had inherited the Dragon God's wisdom, while the Golden Dragon King had inherited the Dragon God's power. The Golden Dragon King looked at Tang San with a disdainful expression and said, Tang San, although I don't like using my brain much, that doesn't mean I am an idiot. If Tang San had said that he alone could severely injure him in 2 moves, he might have actually agreed, but with 3 God Kings attacking together, even if he was stupid, he knew there must be some conspiracy involved. Tang San must have been thinking about using the bet as an opportunity to seal him with the other God Kings. Fortunately, his superintelligence had discovered the despicable Tang San's purpose. Otherwise, being sealed once again was not something he wished to happen. I also don't know why the first-generation Asura god chose this person to inherit the god position. Could it be that Tang San is the child of the first-generation Asura god? All right, you hateful gods, you can all go die. The Golden Dragon King looked at Jai Dong and Lai Yan and charged over without hesitation. He wanted to eliminate these 2 God Kings first, and then eliminate Tang San and the God of Destruction. That way, there would be no opponents in the entire God Realm. Seeing this, Jai Dong and Lai Yan felt a headache. They had no choice but to bite the bullet and fight against the Golden Dragon King. Other deities, seeing this, joined the battle one after another, helping Jai Dong and Lai Yan, contributing their strength to the God Realm. Chapter 40, Golden Dragon King, Tang San, I curse you to be childless. Zhu Zhuqing nestled in Dai Mubai's embrace like a nimble kitten. Immediately after, a white light filled with an ancient aura burst forth from them. Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai's auras instantly became stronger, and the 5-ring halos behind the 2 deities merged. A massive white tiger appeared out of thin air in midair. This white tiger had 3 pairs of wings on its back. Its enormous body was pure white without a single flaw, and its eyes were as black as ink, as deep as an abyss. Behind the gigantic hell-white tiger, a 7-layered halo had already blossomed forth. The hell-white tiger suddenly transformed into an incomparably powerful white light, rushing towards the Golden Dragon King not far away. Arriving before the Golden Dragon King, the hell-white tiger swung its massive tiger paw and fiercely struck out at the Golden Dragon King. Some second-rank gods showed astonished expressions upon seeing this, not expecting Zhu Zhuqing and Dai Mubai to be so formidable, capable of reaching the first-rank god level. How audacious! Seeing the Hell-White Tiger attack him, the Golden Dragon King unhesitatingly met it with a claw. A mere Zyro by Tiger dared to engage in close combat with him, the Golden Dragon King. It was courting death. The glazed pagoda has 9 layers. The first is strength, the second is speed, the third is spirit, the fourth is defense, the fifth is attack, the sixth is augmentation. 6 different colored lights, under Ning Rongrong's clear and melodious voice, floated out from the bottom 6 layers of the 9-layer glazed pagoda. The first layer released red light, followed by orange, yellow, green, cyan and blue light. These 6 different lights, each divided into 8 strands, all infused into the Hell-White Tiger. The Hell-White Tiger was struck by the Golden Dragon King, spitting blood, and its divine soul fusion skill was dispelled. The Golden Dragon King looked at Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing and said, "Your combined strength is far inferior to the true Hell-White Tiger." After speaking, he casually launched 2 attacks at Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing, intending to eliminate them both. Seeing the attacks coming towards them, Dai Mubai unhesitatingly embraced Zhu Zhuqing, using his body to block the Golden Dragon King's attacks. Dai Mubai spat out fresh blood, his life kai rapidly fading. Zhu Zhuqing looked at Dai Mubai's state and cried out, "Mubai." She truly hadn't expected Dai Mubai to sacrifice himself to protect her. Mubai! Tang San felt immense anger upon seeing Dai Mubai on the verge of death. To dare harm someone from the Tang clan, he truly didn't want to live. Tang San looked at Jai Dong and Lai Yan, who were fighting, and transmitted his voice, "Kindness and evil, come quickly." Jai Dong and Lai Yan couldn't be harmed, otherwise the 3 Realms Judgment Sword couldn't be used. It took a long time to create the 3 Realms Judgment Sword back then. If anything happened to Jai Dong and Lai Yan, it would be impossible to create another skill to deal with the Golden Dragon King, because there wouldn't be enough time. Jai Dong and Lai Yan heard Tang San's words, withdrew from the battlefield, and quickly flew towards Tang San. Trying to run, impossible. Seeing Jai Dong and Lai Yan withdraw from the battlefield and fly towards Tang San, the Golden Dragon King tried to block them both. For some unknown reason, he had a vague bad premonition. If those 3 got together, he might very well die. A massive black lightning orb struck towards the Golden Dragon King. Boom! An explosion sounded, and the Golden Dragon King was blocked. The God of Destruction flew in front of the Golden Dragon King. "Golden Dragon King, your opponent is this old man." His current mission was to block the Golden Dragon King, allowing Tang San and the others to successfully use the 3 Realms Judgment Sword. Although he disliked Tang San, this was not the time to act on impulse. He would deal with the Golden Dragon King first, then continue to contend with Tang San. "You a defeated foe." The Golden Dragon King looked at the God of Destruction with disdain. The previous battle had greatly boosted his confidence. As he spoke, he dealt with a couple of overconfident gods. These 2 gods actually wanted to ambush him. They were truly overestimating themselves. Jai Dong and Lai Yan arrived in front of Tang San, and together used the 3 Realms Judgment Sword. Black, white and red, 3 colors of light condensed in the air, transforming into a 3-colored giant sword, appearing across the sky. Feeling the dangerous aura of the 3 Realms Judgment Sword, the Golden Dragon King, who was fighting the God of Destruction, his face greatly changed. If he didn't run, he would surely die. He simply couldn't withstand this attack. Thinking this, the Golden Dragon King unhesitatingly flapped his wings, turned and fled, trying to escape the 3 Realms Judgment Sword's attack. "Go!" The Golden Dragon King desperately flapped its wings, fleeing ahead, but its body seemed to be pulled by something, as the 3 Realms Judgment Sword gradually closed in. Destroy life. Watching the 3 Realms Judgment Sword chase the Golden Dragon King, Tang San shouted at the God of Destruction and the Goddess of Life. Hearing Tang San's words, the God of Destruction and the Goddess of Life understood what Tang San meant. And both used their power to amplify the 3 Realms Judgment Sword. Although they could defeat the Golden Dragon King without amplification, to avoid any accidents, it was better to amplify the 3 Realms Judgment Sword. Tang San, I curse you to be childless. Feeling the dangerous aura of the Three Realms' judgment sword intensify, knowing that if it hit him, he would surely die, the Golden Dragon King couldn't help but curse Tang San. He hadn't expected Tang San to be so shameless, even having the goddess of life and the god of destruction amplify the Three Realms' judgment sword. Hearing the Golden Dragon King's words, Tang San felt as if his heart had been pierced by a sword. But remembering that he had an illegitimate child, his mood immediately improved considerably. Just as the Three Realms' judgment sword touched the Golden Dragon King, the Golden Dragon King tore open a rift, preparing to enter it and escape the God Realm. The Golden Dragon King spat out blood, glanced at the Three Realms' judgment sword piercing through his body, and revealed an unwilling expression. Black, white, and red lights burst out from his back, and his massive body began to disintegrate amidst violent tremors. Tang San, I curse you to be childless. Even if you have children in the future, they won't be yours. Before his death, the Golden Dragon King unwillingly spoke to Tang San in the distance. After speaking, his entire body disintegrated, leaving nothing behind. Tang San listened to the Golden Dragon King and sneered inwardly, mocking the Golden Dragon King as a big fool. How could he, Tang San, be childless? Both of his children were in the Douluo Continent. As for future children not being his, he simply wouldn't have children with Zyro Wu anymore. Anyway, he had some issues, so having children was no longer important. He simply wouldn't have children with Zyro Wu anymore. Anyway, he had some issues, so having children was no longer important. Third brother. Zyro Wu heard the Golden Dragon King's words, came to Tang San's side, and said with some worry. The Golden Dragon King's words implied that she would cheat, but she, Zyro Wu, would never betray third brother. Tang San saw Zyro Wu's worried expression and comforted her, saying, Zyro Wu, don't worry. I'm already content with one daughter. I don't need another son. Hearing Tang San's words, Zyro Wu finally breathed a sigh of relief, revealing a happy expression. She had always blamed herself for not bearing a son for third brother. Although having a daughter was great for third brother, she still wanted to bear him a child to continue the Tang clan's legacy. Chapter 41, The Golden Dragon King is Dead. Chapter 41, The Golden Dragon King is Dead. Lai Yan and Jai Dong arrived at the place where the Golden Dragon King died, searching for something. Strange, where is it? Jai Dong frowned and muttered to himself when he couldn't find what he was looking for. What he was looking for was the Golden Dragon King Divine Core. He wanted to ensure that the Divine Core wouldn't fall into the hands of someone with ulterior motives, as that would cause great trouble. Lai Yan looked at the healing space and said to Jai Dong, the Golden Dragon King Divine Core was very likely sent to another world by the Golden Dragon King. She speculated that the Golden Dragon King probably felt he couldn't survive, so he sent the Divine Core to another world, hoping that someone from that world would get it and avenge him. Listening to Lai Yan, Jai Dong looked at the healing space and nodded in agreement. Aside from this possibility, he really couldn't think of any other. Although it was possible that the Golden Dragon King Divine Core disappeared along with the Golden Dragon King, it didn't explain why the Golden Dragon King tore open space. God of kindness, God of evil, what happened? Just then Tang San came to Jai Dong and Lai Yan, asking what had happened. Seeing Tang San, Jai Dong told him about the missing Divine Core. Upon learning of the missing Divine Core, Tang San couldn't help but frown, feeling that the Divine Core was part of the Golden Dragon King's scheme, and he didn't know where the Golden Dragon King had gone. The Golden Dragon King itself possessed divine force equivalent to a supreme god, and this Divine Core was its most core power. If an evil deity obtained this Divine Core, their strength could greatly improve, potentially reaching the level of a supreme god. This matter is very troublesome. We need to search thoroughly. After hearing Jai Dong's words, Tang San spoke to Jai Dong and Lai Yan. He would definitely be the one to check the Douluo Continent. If the Golden Dragon King Divine Core was found on the Douluo Continent, he would prepare it for his good son. He had already decided to properly cultivate his good son. Moreover, the god of destruction suffered a considerable injury this time and would need a lot of time to recover. The god of destruction certainly wouldn't want him to reign supreme alone, so he would quickly cultivate someone to contend with him. During the recent battle, he noticed that the God of Destruction's injury hadn't healed, and some of the Golden Dragon King's power remained in the God of Destruction's body, making immediate recovery unlikely. He would wait for the God of Destruction to bestow a god's trial upon Ma, secretly acknowledge Deng Mu, and then, after Deng Mu's ascension to the God realm, pretend they didn't know each other. After the God of Destruction left, he would publicly reveal Deng Mu's true identity. At that time, the God of Destruction would probably be half dead with anger, and Tang San just felt how clever he was. As for Xiao Wu, she would just have to accept Deng Mu then, and he would coax her a bit. Given Xiao Wu's personality, she would forget about it in a few days. Ding bound person no, 3, Golden Dragon King has died. Congratulations, you have obtained the Golden Dragon King Divine Core. The Divine Core has integrated into the host's body. As the host's strength increases, more of the Divine Core's power will be released. Deng Mu looked at the prompt in front of him, a bewildered expression on his face. What happened? How did the Golden Dragon King die? He hadn't been bound to the Golden Dragon King for long, and it had already kicked the bucket. He really hadn't expected it. Deng Mu sat on the bed, beginning to ponder what exactly was going on. Someone must have lifted the Golden Dragon King's seal, allowing it to emerge from the seal. But the question remained, who released the Golden Dragon King? The God of Destruction, impossible. The God of Evil and the God of Kindness, it was impossible for either of them. As for Tang San and the Goddess of Life, it was also impossible for them. He recalled the original novel's plot, but couldn't think of any boss who could secretly release the Golden Dragon King. Moreover, releasing the Golden Dragon King without taking it away would be meaningless, unless the other party was eyeing something in the God realm. However, he remembered there wasn't anything particularly important in the God realm. The only important things were the divine artifacts and divine cores of the God Kings. Besides that, there seemed to be nothing else of significance. Deng Mu felt a surge of violent power strengthening his limbs and bones, which stopped after a moment. He couldn't help but feel lucky that all the damage and pain had been transferred to Tang San, otherwise he would have died from the pain. With my current physical condition, fighting a 10,000-year spirit beast alone is easy. As for a 100,000-year spirit beast, that's hard to say. Deng Mu assessed his physical condition, muttering to himself. He was very curious about what level his strength would reach if he fully absorbed the Golden Dragon King Divine Core's power. The Golden Dragon King's combat power was a mystery. It was said to be very powerful in the legends of the God realm, where even 2 God Kings might not be able to defeat it, but later its strength seemed to decline. However, the next thing to consider was who to bind next. It was better not to bind the Silver Dragon King for now. If he obtained the Silver Dragon King bloodline, he would have both the Golden Dragon King bloodline and the Silver Dragon King bloodline in his body, and if Tang San discovered it, Tang San would become suspicious. Having the Golden Dragon King bloodline could be explained by him accidentally absorbing the Golden Dragon King Divine Core, which was perfectly fine. One must know that Tang Wulin gained the Golden Dragon King bloodline precisely because of the Golden Dragon King Divine Core. Deng Mu suddenly remembered something and asked the system, "Wait, system, didn't you say that I would get everything from the other party after they completely died?" If it were according to that system function, he would have instantly ascended, possessing all of the Golden Dragon King's strength, not just the Golden Dragon King Divine Core. Replying to host, it is true that the host can obtain everything left behind by the bound person, but the Golden Dragon King's body was completely destroyed, leaving only the Divine Core, so the host can only obtain the Divine Core. Listening to the system's explanation, Deng Mu suddenly noticed a crucial point. He hadn't paid attention before, but hearing the system's explanation suddenly made him think. Deng Mu hesitated for a moment and asked the system, "System, does that mean if the other party leaves a wife, I'll get her too?" The system's silence was deafening, and Deng Mu understood its meaning. "Ahem, system, I'm a decent person, you have to believe me. As long as host is happy." After chatting with the system for a while, Deng Mu, to celebrate obtaining the Golden Dragon King Divine Core today, went to the door and locked it to prevent Nea from suddenly barging in later. When he obtained the Golden Dragon King bloodline, Naya had somehow suddenly burst in and looked at him with a shocked expression. Could it be that Naya is really Gu Yuina? And what is her purpose? Deng Mu thought about it and decided to have a good talk with Naya. They were like siblings after all. Chapter 42, Naya's Identity. After finishing his business, Deng Mu left the room with satisfaction. He estimated that his strike would cause significant damage to Tang San. Upon arriving at the living room, Deng Mu saw Naya sitting at the doorway. Naya was resting her chin in her hands, staring blankly at the people passing by outside, lost in thought. What is wrong, Naya? What are you thinking about? Deng Mu sat beside Naya and asked curiously, rubbing her head as he spoke. For some reason, he felt that Naya was a bit off, though he could not quite put his finger on what exactly was wrong. Naya looked at the scenery outside and said, Naya is thinking about the future. Hearing Naya's words, Deng Mu sighed inwardly, not knowing what would be best to say. For some reason, Naya was unable to perform the awakening of her spirit. He had previously asked many people to check on Naya's condition, but they also did not know the reason why she could not perform the awakening of her spirit. This puzzled Deng Mu. He remembered that everyone on the Douluo Continent could perform the awakening of their spirit, though they might not necessarily possess spirit power. Regarding the matter of Naya being unable to perform the awakening of her spirit, he felt that Naya, like him, was a transmigration, though he had undergone a soul transmigration, while Naya had undergone a physical transmigration. Deng Mu gently stroked Naya's head. Naya, brother supports whatever you do, as long as it does not cross any bottom lines. However, he felt that with Naya's personality, she likely would not do anything that crossed the line. He felt that Naya just wanted to be someone who enjoyed leisure and comfort. Naya leaned against Deng Mu, thought for a moment, and joked, Then, if I want to marry brother, is that also okay? Hearing Naya's words, Deng Mu wore an I knew it expression. I knew it. You girl have been drooling over me every day, just too shy to say it. Now you have finally found the opportunity to say it out loud. Hearing Deng Mu's words, Naya was speechless and did not know what would be best to say. Although she knew that Deng Mu would say outrageous things from time to time, she would still be speechless whenever she heard those words, and then would not know what to say. Right now, her impression of Deng Mu was quite good. Every time there was something delicious, he would always give it to her first. If she looked slightly uncomfortable, he would be immensely worried. Sometimes she thought that if she were not a spirit beast, her life would likely be very relaxed and happy. Once she led the spirit beast to resurgence and cultivated the second-generation dragon god, she would live together with Deng Mu, but she estimated it would take a long time, though she was not sure how long. However, she hoped that by that time, the feelings between the two of them would still be the same as they were now. Naya looked at Deng Mu and asked tentatively, Brother, if one day you discover that Naya has lied to you, will you forgive me? Upon hearing this, Deng Mu secretly began to ponder, quickly thinking about Naya's identity. After a short while, Deng Mu realized Naya's true identity. The Silver Dragon King, Gu Yuina. Now that he thought about it carefully, Naya was indeed the Silver Dragon King, Gu Yuina. At first he had not thought about it carefully, and he felt it was unlikely to be such a coincidence. How could it be possible that the person he met named Naya was actually Gu Yuina? Normal people would most likely think it was just a coincidence of sharing a name. Furthermore, Naya behaved like a child, and given Gu Yuina's personality, it certainly would not be like that. Deng Mu thought about the reason why Gu Yuina and Bai Jai had approached them. He estimated that when Tang Hao took him to hunt for a spirit ring, Tang Hao's aura was discovered by Gu Yuina, so she sent someone to investigate and saw the two of them. Deng Mu guessed that the spirit beast that came to check was, in all likelihood, Bai Jai. If they had sent someone like Dai Tian, Tang Hao would definitely have taken him and left the Stardew Great Forest quickly. But if it was someone like Bai Jai, Tang Hao would have kept Bai Jai behind to serve as his spirit ring. Bai Jai's healing ability was indeed very powerful. He had previously had the thought of wanting Bai Jai to become his spirit ring, but after thinking about it, he felt that such a possibility was not high. Because when he went over at that time, Dai Tian and the others were by Bai Jai's side. If they discovered that they could not kill him, their first reaction would definitely be to seal him, and then he would be in deep trouble. Right now, regardless of whose seal it was, he had no way to resolve it. After thinking all this through, Deng Mu chuckled and said to Naya, "If I discover that Naya has been lying to me, then I will spank Naya's little bottom to give Naya a little lesson." Hearing Deng Mu's words, Naya's face could not help but turn red. She did not want to be spanked by Deng Mu, and she felt a sense of relief in her heart. It seemed that Deng Mu was not very concerned about the matter of her lying to him. Deng Mu pinched Naya's cheek and said, "The little pervert is blushing again. If you really lied to brother but have some unspeakable hidden reason, brother will forgive you, but the spanking cannot be exempted." Originally, listening to Deng Mu's words, Naya was quite moved. She thought that he was truly a good brother and felt a bit sorry towards this brother. But when she heard the latter part, all the emotion in her heart was swept away. "Bastard, give me back my emotion." Naya blushed and lightly tapped Deng Mu's shoulder, saying, "Bad brother, you only know how to bully Naya." After saying this, she stood up and walked towards the bedroom, looking a bit full of life Kai. Seeing this situation, Deng Mu panicked slightly and quickly stood up to follow Naya into the bedroom. "Naya, brother was wrong. Please forgive brother, okay?" HMPH. Naya pretended to be a bit full of life Kai, still ignoring Deng Mu, and sat on the bed waiting for Deng Mu to coax her. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. For some reason, she quite liked it when Deng Mu coaxed her. It felt very comfortable in her heart. When she saw Deng Mu interacting with Bai Jai, she inexplicably felt a bit jealous of Deng Mu's interaction with Bai Jai. Seeing Naya like this, Deng Mu knew that Naya wanted him to coax her. He felt a bit helpless in his heart but continued to coax Naya. The other party was now his younger sister. Although they were not related by blood, she was still his younger sister. Unless Naya no longer acknowledged him, they would have no relationship between them. Naya leaned into Deng Mu's embrace. "HMPH, I forgive you this time. If you bully me again next time I will tell Mom." Deng Mu held Naya and said, all right, I am really afraid of you. I will take you to buy candied whores later." Naya nodded in agreement. She also did not know why she liked eating candied whores. She just felt as if candied whores had some kind of magic. "Brother, do you like big sister Bai Jai?" "Oh." Seeing Naya ask this question again, Deng Mu could not help but be stunned for a moment. Liking her was certain. After all, they had been together for so long, it was impossible not to have feelings. He was not some cold-blooded and heartless person. However, he did not quite understand what Naya's goal was. Could it be that Naya wanted him and Bai Jai to be together? Deng Mu thought for a moment and said, "I do like her, but it has not reached the point where I cannot live without her. However, if compared to you, Bai Jai is definitely far inferior to you." Hearing Deng Mu's words, Naya's face turned red again. She did not know why she blushed so often either. Chapter 43, Departure. In the past, she certainly wouldn't have reacted to such words, but after spending so much time with Deng Mu, she found herself blushing at the slightest thing. Deng Mu patted Naya on the head and said, "Naya, I have to leave in a while. You must be good at homes, you know." Naya nodded. Naya will definitely be good. She felt a strange sense of loss in her heart. She didn't want Deng Mu to leave, she wanted him to stay with her. But she couldn't ask Deng Mu to stay, as that would limit his development. Seeing that Naya was a bit dejected, Deng Mu gently patted her head and said, "Don't worry, Naya. When the holidays come, brother will come back to find you." Jiang Nanan and Tang Ye had come back once, but the round trip took too long, and they had to return to Shrek for school after staying for only a few days, so their mother told them to focus on their studies at school. The day the older sisters returned, they were extremely surprised to learn that their mother had picked up another person, and they looked at her in astonishment. Tang Ye joked at the time that by the time they returned next, there might be a few more people in the house, and the older sister nodded in agreement. Naya thought for a moment and said, "Brother, remember to bring me something delicious when you come back." Hearing Naya's words, Deng Mu looked at her, laughing and crying at the same time, but he still promised to bring her something delicious when he returned. Deng Mu thought of something and joked, "By that time, brother will bring back a few sisters-in-law for you." Upon hearing this, Naya's small face fell and she said, "No way, brother, you are mine. If you bring back a few sisters-in-law, I won't talk to you anymore." She felt that if Deng Mu was serious, he really might bring back a few sisters-in-law. Given Deng Mu's good looks, it wouldn't be difficult for him to bring back a few beautiful sisters-in-law. Seeing Naya like this, Deng Mu couldn't help but burst into laughter. Watching Deng Mu laughing heartily, Naya realized she had been teased by him, and her face instantly turned bright red. "Brother, you're bullying me again." My mistake, Naya, don't get life Kai." In the blink of an eye, a week passed. During this week, Deng Mu spent all his time playing with Naya. Deng Mu looked at Yan Yuhua and said, "Mother, I am leaving, take this money." As he spoke, he stuffed the money bag into Yan Yuhua's hand. The money bag was heavy, containing roughly several hundred gold coins. This money was enough for his mother and Naya to live a prosperous life in North City, and he wasn't worried about anyone daring to cause trouble for his mother and Naya. Now, everyone in North City knew that their family had 3 spirit masters, and each spirit master was a genius, so few people would come looking for trouble. Plus, there was Naya. Naya was the Silver Dragon King. While the Naya in front of him might not have her full original strength, dealing with those spirit masters in North City would be an easy matter. Perhaps there were other vicious beasts in the shadows protecting Naya's safety, so there was basically no need to worry about those with ill intentions. He had wanted to give money to his mother long ago, but he worried she wouldn't accept it, so he gave a portion of the money to his mother as a spirit master allowance. Now the family was no longer as destitute as before, they had become very wealthy. The people around them were not surprised by this at all. In their view, with 3 spirit masters in the house, becoming wealthy was simply not a difficult task. If they were still that poor, that would be what was surprising. Yan Yuhua looked at the money, somewhat surprised, and asked, "Ma, where did this money come from?" Her tone carried a hint of worry. It seemed she mistakenly thought Deng Mu's money had come from an improper source. Deng Mu quickly explained to his mother, "Mom, don't worry about the money. It's not from any improper source. You know me, how could I possibly do such things?" Hearing Deng Mu's words, Yan Yuhua thought about it and realized it was true. She knew Deng Mu very well, and he was incapable of doing such things. Furthermore, there hadn't been any rumors of great thieves in the city. As for where the money actually came from, since Deng Mu didn't want to say, she wouldn't ask. Yan Yuhua accepted the money. "All right, I believe you. This money is not from an improper source." She thought about it and decided to renovate the house so that when Deng Mu and the others returned, they would have their own places to stay. Besides, they were so big now that they needed to sleep separately. Deng Mu finished speaking with Yan Yuhua and looked at Naya, saying, "Naya, remember our agreement." Naya nodded. Brother, I will be good." She would naturally not forget what she had promised and would abide by it well. After saying goodbye to Yan Yuhua and Naya, Deng Mu took a look around and was somewhat surprised to see that Bai Jai had not come. He had thought Bai Jai would come to see him off, but he hadn't expected her not to show up. "Mother's Naya, I'm leaving now. Be careful on your way." Deng Mu entered the carriage, told the driver to drive away, and headed toward the Stardew Great Forest. The carriage traveled for a while before coming to a sudden stop. "Customer, there is someone outside looking for you. She wants to come up." Let her in. Learning someone was looking for him, Deng Mu was somewhat surprised and felt a bit curious about who it could be. He didn't know many people in this city. He usually stayed at school or at home, and the rest of his time was spent training. Just as Deng Mu was wondering, that person entered the carriage. When he saw that the person who came was Bai Jai, Deng Mu's curiosity turned into surprise. He had thought Bai Jai had already left, but he hadn't expected her to have stayed and waited for him. Today, Bai Jai was dressed very beautifully, looking much better than usual. This outfit made Deng Mu involuntarily swallow his saliva. She was wearing an emerald green cheongsam that accentuated her figure. With her beautiful appearance combined with this outfit, she could captivate many people. Seeing Deng Mu's expression, Bai Jai smiled slightly. The effect she wanted had been achieved, to captivate Deng Mu. "Sorry it took too long to get ready, keeping you waiting." "It's fine." Deng Mu shook his head at Bai Jai's words, thinking to himself that Bai Jai was truly beautiful today. Before Deng Mu could say anything, Bai Jai leaned in and kissed him directly. This action left Deng Mu completely stunned and at a loss. It was his first time encountering such a situation. After a long while, Bai Jai sat contentedly beside Deng Mu. After these few years of interacting and trying every way to win Deng Mu over, Bai Jai discovered that she seemed to truly like this child, who was so much younger than her. After a while, Deng Mu recovered and with a flushed face looked at Bai Jai and said, "Sister Bai Jai, what are you doing?" Bai Jai smiled and said, "Do you like it?" Hearing Deng Mu's words, Deng Mu didn't say anything, just nodded. Bai Jai hugged Deng Mu and said, "Little Mu, do you mind taking me along?" Deng Mu shook his head and said, "I don't mind, you are very welcome." Immediately after, Deng Mu told the driver to continue driving. Anyway, he had chartered the carriage, so letting anyone on was a simple matter. "Little Mu, how about we play a game?" "What game?" "Well, in this game, no matter what sister does to you, you cannot make a sound for others to hear." Chapter 44, Hu Yutong. Over a month later, near the Stardew Great Forest, Bai Jai kissed Deng Mu on the forehead and said, "Little Mu, be safe and watch out for the spirit beasts inside. They are extremely dangerous." Although she was well aware of Deng Mu's strength, she still couldn't help but offer a reminder. Deng Mu nodded and put on his coat. "I'll be careful, you don't need to worry, big sister Bai Jai." He sighed inwardly at how such a gentle big sister like Bai Jai could be so playful. It was truly unexpected for him, likely because she had lived for so long. After bidding farewell to Bai Jai, Deng Mu got off the carriage and walked toward the Stardew Great Forest, feeling curious about what Hu Yutong looked like. Although he had seen pictures of Hu Yutong online before, those were all fan art. Now that he could actually meet Hu Yutong, he was genuinely curious. The coachman drove the carriage back toward North City, feeling incredibly pleased. He could earn quite a bit of money from this round trip. A young girl was walking toward the Stardew Great Forest. She was going to obtain her first spirit ring. The girl had delicate features and a head of beautiful black hair. Her large, watery eyes seemed capable of speaking. She was the very person Deng Mu was looking for, and her name was Hu Yutong. Hu Yutong felt incredibly nervous at this moment. She knew that the Stardew Great Forest was extremely dangerous and filled with many spirit beasts. At the same time, she was also aware of her own situation. She was weak and had a somewhat frail physique, so she could only hunt a weak, 10-year spirit beast. "Sigh, I wonder when I'll be able to take my revenge." Hu Yutong muttered to herself as she walked toward the Stardew Great Forest. After entering the Stardew Great Forest, a black figure flashed past behind Hu Yutong. Ahem. Hearing the commotion, Hu Yutong subconsciously looked behind her. Seeing nothing behind her, Hu Yutong thought she had been hearing things and continued forward. After walking for a while longer, a figure rushed rapidly toward Hu Yutong. "Oh no!" Hearing the movement behind her, Hu Yutong turned around to look. She saw a winged baboon rushing toward her. It was already too late to dodge the attack. "It's over, am I going to die here today?" Just as Hu Yutong thought this, she felt a warm embrace behind her. "You're courting death." Hu Yutong saw a hammer smash the winged baboon away instantly. The winged baboon crashed to the ground and rolled a few times. Then, a white spirit ring floated out from the winged baboon's corpse. So strong. Looking at the winged baboon's corpse, Hu Yutong thought to herself secretly. She felt a bit fond of this embrace, and her heart was beating inexplicably fast. "Are you all right?" Hearing the voice behind her, Hu Yutong snapped back to reality, hurriedly left the embrace, and looked somewhat embarrassed at the person who had been holding her. When Hu Yutong saw the person who had held her clearly, her heart beat even faster, and she couldn't help but swallow. "So handsome." Looking at Deng Mu in front of her, Hu Yutong thought to herself secretly. Deng Mu looked at the Hu Yutong in front of him and asked with a smile, "Are you all right?" He was curious about who this young girl in front of him was. To dare to come to the Stardew Great Forest alone, did she think she was Hu Yuhao? Listening to Deng Mu's words, Hu Yutong shook her head and said, "I'm fine, thank you for saving me. My name is Hu Yutong, you can call me Yutong. May I ask what your name is?" Upon learning that the other party was Hu Yutong, Deng Mu was slightly surprised. "It's nothing, just a small favor. My name is Deng Mu." After learning Deng Mu's name, Hu Yutong secretly noted it down in her heart. Deng Mu had saved her life, and she would repay him in the future. "Yutong, why did you come to this place alone? Were you being hunted by others?" Deng Mu looked at Huo Yutong and asked about her purpose for coming here. Although he knew what Huo Yutong's purpose was, he still had to pretend he didn't. Huo Yutong shook her head. No, I came here to hunt a spirit beast and obtain my first spirit ring. Deng Mu thought for a moment and suggested, it's too dangerous for you to be alone, I'll accompany you. Hearing Deng Mu's suggestion, Huo Yutong originally wanted to refuse, but thinking of her own strength and the incident just now, she hesitated. I must thank you. It's nothing, a small favor. Listening to Huo Yutong, Deng Mu waved his hand to indicate it was fine. He felt that Huo Yutong was truly cute, but her fate wasn't very good. At the same time, he was curious about who Huo Yutong's future husband would be. It couldn't possibly be Tang Wutong. If that were really the case, it would be too absurd. After they finished speaking, the two of them walked into the Stardew Great Forest. Not long after they had walked, the ground beneath Deng Mu and Huo Yutong suddenly trembled without warning. Seeing this situation, Huo Yutong was somewhat at a loss, feeling inexplicably nervous and afraid. A 10-year spirit beast had almost killed her just now. If an even more powerful one appeared, wouldn't they both be done for? It wouldn't matter if she died, but if Deng Mu died because of her, she would blame herself immensely. Deng Mu subconsciously shielded Huo Yutong behind him and said softly to her, Huo Yutong, it's okay, I'm here. Listening to Deng Mu's words, Huo Yutong felt filled with a sense of security. She trusted Deng Mu's words implicitly and gripped the corner of his clothes tightly. Looking at Deng Mu's back, Huo Yutong felt a complex mix of emotions. It was the first time she had encountered a stranger who treated her this well. Upon their first meeting, Deng Mu had saved her life, and now he was protecting her without hesitation. The ground 2 meters ahead began to show cracks. The cracks gradually grew larger, turning into a fissure, and faintly, a pale golden-white light could be seen shining from within the fissure. Wisps of icy coldness emanated from the fissure in the ground, and the surrounding temperature began to drop significantly. The area of the fissure grew larger and larger, and in a short while, it reached a diameter of over 5 meters, and that golden-white light finally revealed its true form. It was a silkworm with a body that appeared to be made of white jade. It was crystal clear, with halos of light flowing beneath its skin. On its head were a pair of golden, sparkling little eyes. What was most peculiar was that starting from 1/2 meter from its head, there was a surrounding golden ring at regular intervals. From head to tail, there were a total of 10 golden rings. The Tianmeng iceworm had finally arrived. Deng Mu looked at the Tianmeng iceworm in front of him, thinking to himself secretly. Huo Yutong, who was behind him, looked at the Tianmeng iceworm and thought that they were both dead for sure. This baby silkworm was at least 100-year spirit beast, perhaps even 1,000-year spirit beast. As for 10,000 years, she didn't even dare to imagine it. A spirit beast of that level could easily deal with them. When the Tianmeng iceworm sensed Deng Mu's presence, the entire beast was dumbfounded. Why did it feel danger from the person in front of it? I mean no harm. The Tianmeng iceworm admitted defeat without hesitation. It didn't want to die, as it had to complete its plan. Listening to the Tianmeng iceworm's voice, Deng Mu was somewhat dumbfounded. Why had the Tianmeng iceworm also become female? Chapter 45, Huo Yutong's Gratitude. Is this the trend nowadays? Does gender bending have to come in pairs? I have a vague feeling that others might also be feminized. Just thinking about that possibility makes my scalp tingle. Is there something you need? After regaining his composure, Deng Mu looked at the Tianmeng iceworm and asked. Although he was clear about the Tianmeng iceworm's purpose, he still had to put on an act. Huo Yutong looked at the Tianmeng iceworm with a face full of surprise. It was her first time seeing a spirit beast that could speak. What an incredibly powerful spirit beast this must be. She couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the other party wasn't here to kill them, otherwise they would both be dead. A spirit beast capable of speech possessed immense power, far beyond what the two of them could handle. The Tianmeng iceworm hesitated for a moment before saying, I would like to become the spirit ring for the young girl behind you. Would that be all right? It had a vague feeling that Deng Mu was backed by some big shot, and it didn't dare to provoke such a person, especially since it had absolutely no combat ability. Upon hearing this, Deng Mu looked at Huo Yutong and asked, Huo Yutong, what do you think? Upon learning that the other party wanted to become her spirit ring, Hua Yutong was incredibly surprised, but she quickly calmed down. After struggling for a moment, Hua Yutong made up her mind to let the Tianmeng Iceworm become her spirit ring. She needed to take revenge on those people. I agree. Good, I'm going to start now. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. I won't make it too painful for you. Later. Listening to the Tianmeng Iceworm's words, Deng Mu inwardly grumbled. Since the Tianmeng Iceworm had turned into a girl, why did what she said sound so lewd? As the Tianmeng Iceworm surged into Hua Yuhao's body, an invisible wave of mental force spread out from it, covering every corner within a 100-mile radius in an instant with its terrifying mental force. Deng Mu yawned. The Tianmeng Iceworm's mental shock didn't affect him at all. The Tianmeng Iceworm's mental shock didn't possess much destructive power, but it could cause all living creatures to lose the ability to think for a short time. At this moment, the greater part of the southern end of the Stardew Great Forest was terrifyingly silent. Just then, the sky, which had been perfectly clear a moment before, suddenly darkened. A thunderous roar resounded high in the sky, and in that instant, the sun's light was completely obscured by darkness. An immense pressure that made it hard to breathe descended from the sky. A stream of grey kai descended from the sky and entered Hua Yutong's head. Grasping the sun and moon, plucking the stars, there is no one in this world like me. I never expected that I, this old man, would still have a wisp of remnant soul left behind. A very blurry figure appeared behind Hua Yutong, and an aged voice resounded with an indescribable majesty. Ding, Hua Yutong has obtained Electrolux, starting share. Ding, congratulations on obtaining Electrolux. Deng Mu looked at the notification before him and felt it was all right. He could resurrect Electrolux in the future. He had a pretty good impression of Electrolux, and also of Long Heochen from Divine Throne. Long Heochen from Divine Throne seemed like the most normal protagonist among those novels, but the Long Heochen in the second part was hard to describe. Come to think of it, there don't seem to be many normal protagonists in the Douluo universe. The protagonist of Mad God is an old rapist. I can't be bothered to criticize his behavior, but either way, I don't really like that kind of protagonist. As for the Kind Death God, Deng Mu feels it shouldn't be called the Kind Death God, but rather the Yellow Death God. Some of the plots in there are really something. Meanwhile, the Tianmeng Iceworm was cursing and swearing. Someone was actually stealing a person from her, which was really bullying a spirit beast too much. As the Tianmeng Iceworm became Hua Yutong's spirit ring, the system's voice appeared simultaneously. Ding, Hua Yutong has obtained a sealed million-year spirit ring, starting share. Ding, congratulations on obtaining a sealed million-year spirit ring. System, add this million-year spirit ring to the Clear Sky Hammer. Looking at the system's notification, Deng Mu thought for a moment and added the million-year spirit ring to the Clear Sky Hammer. He was a bit puzzled as to why he hadn't obtained the Tianmeng Iceworm. Although he didn't really want the Tianmeng Iceworm, he was still a bit curious. Seeing Hua Yutong falling to the ground, Deng Mu hurriedly caught her and helped her sit down under a tree. According to the plot, the Tianmeng Iceworm and Hua Yutong would be chatting in the Sea of Consciousness. Thinking of this, Deng Mu sat beside Hua Yutong and waited for Hua Yuhao to wake up. Oh right, system, why didn't I obtain the Tianmeng Iceworm? Replying to host, the system has placed the Tianmeng Iceworm within the spirit ring. If the host requires it, the system can detach the Tianmeng Iceworm from the spirit ring. Forget it, no need. Hearing the system's words, Deng Mu thought for a moment and refused to have the Tianmeng Iceworm detached. He did not want his memories to be seen by others, not even by his mother. Glancing at the still unconscious Hua Yutong, Deng Mu thought for a moment, then carried her on his back and walked toward the outside of the Stardew Great Forest. After arriving at a small stream, Deng Mu took out a blanket, placed it on the ground, and then laid Hua Yutong on the blanket. I guess Hua Yutong won't be waking up for a while. I might as well catch some fish first. Looking at the unconscious Hua Yutong, Deng Mu thought about catching some fish. After Hua Yutong wakes up, he'll taste the grilled fish she makes. Having read so many fanfictions, quite a few claim that Hua Yuhao makes first-class grilled fish. The grilled fish made by the feminized version should also be quite good. It couldn't possibly be a disaster, right? After 2 hours, Hua Yutong slowly woke up. Hua Yutong, eat a skewer of grilled fish. Thank you, Brother Mu. It's nothing. Deng Mu handed the grilled fish to Hua Yutong and waved his hand to indicate it was nothing. Taking the grilled fish, Hua Yutong took a bite and thought to herself that the taste was truly excellent, far better than the grilled fish she made. Watching Hua Yutong eat with relish, Deng Mu assumed she was hungry and didn't think much of it. So full. Here, drink some water. Thank you, Brother Mu. Hua Yutong took the water bottle handed over by Deng Mu and drank it without a second thought. She now trusted Deng Mu 100%. In all the time she had lived, this was the first time she had encountered someone who cared about her so much. Furthermore, when she had passed out, he had taken good care of her without any ulterior motives. The only person who could treat her selflessly was her mother, but unfortunately, her mother had already passed away. Looking at Hua Yutong, Deng Mu thought for a moment and asked, Hua Yutong, what are your plans for the future? Upon hearing this, Hua Yutong shook her head. Not yet, I'm a bit lost right now. Right now, she wanted to quickly improve her strength. Other than that, she had no other thoughts. Deng Mu thought for a moment and made a suggestion to Hua Yutong. Hua Yutong, why don't you join the Tang Sect? Chapter 46, Dark Cuisine. Tang Sect. Upon hearing the words Tang Sect, Hua Yutong subconsciously recalled the stories her mother used to tell. Legend has it that Tang San was the founder of the Tang Sect. Deng Mu introduced it to Hua Yutong. The Tang Sect I am referring to is the one established by the sea god Tang San 10,000 years ago. I am currently the sect master of the Tang Sect, and I think you, Hua Yutong, are quite excellent. Upon learning that Deng Mu was the sect master of the Tang Sect, Hua Yutong looked at him in utter astonishment. She truly had not expected that the youth before her, who was not much older than she was actually the sect master of the Tang Sect. Seeing the look of surprise on Hua Yutong's face, Deng Mu briefly explained the situation to her. After learning the ins and outs of the matter, Hua Yutong nodded to show she understood, feeling a sense of indignation in her heart regarding Tanya's plight. Those people were truly despicable, to think they would try to kill an entire family just for territory. Deng Mu stated his purpose. Hua Yutong, this is what I'm thinking. Since you are about the same age as me, if you join the Tang Sect, I can give you a quota to attend Shrek Academy. You will be able to learn some useful things at Shrek Academy. Ordinary students might not learn much at Shrek, but given Hua Yutong's talent, if she went to attend Shrek Academy, she could learn about the spirit tool just like in the original plot. As for joining the body sect, he didn't know where the body sect was, and besides, for a girl like Hua Yutong to travel such a long distance to the body sect, it would be very easy for something to go wrong. Therefore, attending Shrek Academy was currently a very good choice. If the body sect were nearby, he would definitely recommend that Hua Yutong go to the body sect instead of Shrek Academy. Honestly, he really hadn't expected that even after 10,000 years, the training method would still be running. If they could come up with a complete and standardized training method, he wouldn't say anything, but the fact that it was still running after 10,000 years was just hard to accept. Listening to Deng Mu's words, Hua Yutong felt even more touched. This person, whom she had known for less than a day, was actually thinking of her so considerately. Naturally, she knew of Shrek Academy. It was the top academy on the continent, and it was extremely difficult to get in. Especially with her level of talent, it was simply impossible for her to join Shrek Academy. With her talent, she couldn't possibly enter those famous schools. She could only attend an ordinary, average school. What was even more troublesome was that she didn't have any money. She figured the best choice for her would be to join a spirit master team, or go to a sect and start from the very bottom. This made Hua Yutong even more moved, and at the same time, she felt incredibly grateful to Deng Mu. Brother Mu, I am willing to join the Tang Sect. And from today on, you are a member of my Tang Sect. This is a storage soul guidance device. Take it as a welcome gift. Deng Mu took the 24 moonlit bridges out of his own storage soul guidance device and handed it to Hua Yutong. This 24 moonlit bridges had been sent to him by Tang Ye. As for where it came from, he wasn't quite sure. Looking at the 24 moonlit bridges in front of her, Hua Yutong felt a bit embarrassed. The other party had saved her life, helped her meet the million-year-old sister Tianmeng, and arranged for her to join the Tang Sect and receive a quota to attend Shrek Academy. The Tianmeng Iceworm couldn't help but sigh. "Little Yutong, having met such a good man, you should just marry him." Upon hearing the Tianmeng Iceworm's words, Hua Yutong's face instantly turned red, and she said to the Tianmeng Iceworm, "Sister Tianmeng, what are you saying?" She did indeed quite like Deng Mu now, but when she thought of her own status, she felt she wasn't worthy of him. If she could become a powerhouse in the future, she would confess her feelings to Deng Mu and be with him. If Deng Mu didn't agree, it would only mean she wasn't good enough yet. The Tianmeng Iceworm smiled upon hearing Hua Yutong's words and didn't say anything. She understood Hua Yutong very well now, so she could naturally guess what Hua Yutong was thinking. Seeing that Hua Yutong wouldn't take the 24 moonlit bridges, Deng Mu asked, "What's wrong, Hua Yutong? Do you not like it?" Hua Yutong came back to her senses, shook her head and said, "This thing is too precious, Brother Mu, you shouldn't give this to me." Seeing this, Deng Mu shoved the 24 moonlit bridges into Hua Yutong's hand and said, "Take it. I am the sect master. It is only right that I give you things." Hua Yutong sighed, took the 24 moonlit bridges, and thought to herself that she owed Brother Mu another favor. But she soon discovered an awkward situation. She didn't know how to wear the 24 moonlit bridges. Seeing Hua Yutong holding the 24 moonlit bridges at a loss, Deng Mu understood the situation. He took the 24 moonlit bridges from her and put it on her. "Brother Mu, thank you." "It's nothing." Hearing Hua Yutong's quiet thanks, Deng Mu waved his hand to show it was no trouble. Immediately after, Deng Mu took out the mysterious heaven treasure record and handed it to Hua Yutong. "Hua Yutong, these are our sect's ultimate techniques. You must study them well, do you understand?" Taking the mysterious heaven treasure record from Deng Mu's hands, Hua Yutong nodded to indicate she understood, and began to read the mysterious heaven treasure record. While reading, Hua Yutong marveled to herself that the Tang Sect lived up to its reputation. These ultimate techniques were truly impressive. Once she learned these things, she would be able to elevate her strength by a level. Watching Hua Yutong as she studied, Deng Mu looked at her quietly. The next day, the two of them got up early and began to cultivate the purple demon eye. Hua Yutong, who was cultivating the purple demon eye for the first time, felt it was quite good. "Brother Mu, let me make breakfast." "All right." Seeing Hua Yutong volunteer to cook, Deng Mu thought about it and agreed to let her make breakfast. He was very curious in his heart, wondering what the breakfast Hua Yutong made would taste like. "Brother Mu, you eat this portion of breakfast." Soon, 2 hearty breakfasts were prepared, and Hua Yutong gave the largest portion to Deng Mu. Deng Mu took the breakfast and thanked her. "Thank you." Under Hua Yutong's expectant gaze, he ate the breakfast she had made. Strange, why was there no taste? After eating what Hua Yutong had made, Deng Mu was incredibly puzzled and didn't quite understand the situation. It was impossible that she hadn't added seasoning. He had seen her add it with his own eyes. Therefore, there must be something wrong with the food. "System, why can't I taste anything when I eat this?" "Host, the taste of this food is hard to describe. You definitely don't want to eat it." No. Upon hearing this, Deng Mu glanced at Hua Yutong, who was looking at him with anticipation. He truly hadn't expected that Hua Yutong would cook something so terrible that he wished he could shift it onto Tang San. Deng Mu smiled and said to Hua Yutong, "It's delicious, Hua Yutong, what you made is delicious." After saying this, he ate it in large mouthfuls and finished the breakfast Hua Yutong had made in no time. Hearing Deng Mu's words, Hua Yutong smiled very happily and prepared to pick up her own breakfast to eat. Seeing this, Deng Mu hurriedly took her breakfast away and took out a delicious portion from his own storage soul guidance device. Chapter 47, Zyro Wu doubting her life. "Hua Yutong, eat this. You need to nourish yourself properly. You're too thin right now." Hua Yutong looked at the item in her hand, feeling incredibly moved. The food in her hand clearly looked expensive, yet he was giving it to her to eat, while Deng Mu only ate those other things. She made up her mind in her heart that from now on, she would cook delicious food for Deng Mu every day to repay him for his kindness toward her. Right now, she only felt that she owed Deng Mu more and more favors. and it seemed she had nothing else to repay him with except herself. Seeing Huo Yutong accept it, Deng Mu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He had just been worried that Huo Yutong wouldn't take it, and then he continued eating the things in his own hands. Black. Tang San, who was eating, couldn't hold it back and threw up directly. An indescribable taste appeared in his mouth. It was the first time in his long life that he had experienced such a flavor. Brother San. Zyro Wu watched Tang San, who was vomiting incessantly, and the item in her hand dropped to the ground. The plate shattered into pieces, and food was everywhere. Her feelings were a complex mix right now. In the past, Brother San had always praised the food she made as the most delicious in the world. She hadn't expected that the food she made would actually be so terrible, and that Brother San had been pretending all along just to make her happy. Tang San vomited for a while, wiped his mouth, and was still wondering what was going on when he saw Zyro Wu's heartbroken face. Oh no, why did she have to come in at this moment? Looking at Zyro Wu in front of him, Tang San felt a massive headache. There was definitely nothing wrong with the food Zyro Wu made. He had never vomited when eating it before, and he had only inexplicably vomited this one time today, which left him completely bewildered. He didn't want to experience that feeling again. He would rather fight for power with the god of destruction than ever have to experience that feeling again. Tang San hurriedly stood up and went to Zyro Wu's side. Zyro Wu, listen to my explanation. My body was feeling a bit unwell, which is why I suddenly vomited. It absolutely wasn't because your cooking wasn't good. If I didn't like it, you would have discovered it long ago. Hearing Tang San's words, Zyro Wu, who was about to cry, forced her tears back. Brother San, is that true? Zyro Wu looked at Tang San, asking him uncertainly. She naturally trusted Tang San's words, but given the situation today, she really found it hard to believe. Tang San had just been vomiting like a wreck, so saying that what she made was delicious was truly too hard to believe. It felt like Brother San was just treating her like a fool. Tang San pulled Zyro Wu into his embrace and said to her dotingly, Of course, Zyro Wu, in this world, no one can compare to you when it comes to the things you make. Hearing Tang San's words, Zyro Wu felt much better, thinking that perhaps it really was because Brother San was feeling unwell that he vomited. At the same time, she felt a bit guilty. As Brother San's wife, she hadn't even noticed that he was unwell, which was a huge dereliction of duty. She would go to the kitchen right now to make some nourishing dishes to help Brother San recover. Brother San, I misunderstood you. I'm going to make you something delicious to help you recover. Go ahead. After Tang San watched Zyro Wu leave, he cleaned up the mess from his vomiting. Although gods no longer needed to eat, they had long been accustomed to it, and there was no need for them to change. Satisfying their appetites was actually quite nice. However, he was still puzzled in his heart. Where did that indescribable taste come from, and why did it suddenly appear in his mouth? It was just too strange. After a while, Zyro Wu made a plate of oysters and placed them in front of Tang San. Tang San looked at the dozens of oysters in front of him, wearing a bewildered expression, not knowing what to say. He was a dignified god king of the god realm. How could he possibly need this stuff? He didn't need nourishment at all, and he definitely didn't need this stuff. He was very vigorous, all right. While thinking this, Tang San picked up an oyster and began to eat it. In the blink of an eye, 2/3 of the oysters on the plate had already been eaten by Tang San. Brother San, shouldn't we be intimate today? Zyro Wu sat beside Tang San, her hand resting on his. Because of the Golden Dragon King incident, she wanted to have another child with Tang San to ensure the curse wouldn't happen. Hearing Zyro Wu's words, Tang San's expression changed. In his current situation, it was absolutely impossible for him to be intimate. As for what Zyro Wu was thinking, he naturally understood it. But his heart was willing while his strength was lacking. Damn it! What exactly is going on, and who is playing tricks? The only thing Tang San was grateful for was that he had a son, so his Tang clan line wouldn't end with him. Although he was one of the supreme gods of the god realm, he was very concerned about whether he could continue his lineage. The mere Golden Dragon King and its curse were not worth mentioning. The only thing that puzzled him was where the Golden Dragon King's divine core had gone. If someone with ulterior motives obtained it, that would be a troublesome matter. Zyro Wu hugged Tang San's arm and acted coquettishly. Is that okay, Brother San Tilda? Looking at the coquettish Zyro Wu, Tang San sighed helplessly in his heart and said, Zyro Wu, let's do it next time. I still have some matters to handle during this period. He needed to quickly treat that place. Otherwise, Zyro Wu would discover it sooner or later, and his male pride would be insulted at that time. At first, he had wanted to find the goddess of life for treatment, but considering the current situation and other reasons, he hadn't gone to seek treatment from the goddess of life. Tang San wanted to say something more, but that strange, disgusting taste came again. Please, Brother San, tonight I can dress up in the way you like the most. Bleck. Zyro Wu, who was hugging Tang San and acting coquettishly, saw Tang San suddenly vomit again and was completely stunned. I was actually rejected by Brother San. Zyro Wu's eyes gradually turned red. She had only acted coquettishly toward Brother San, yet he was so disgusted by her. Zyro Wu, it's not what you think. My old ailment flared up, which is why I'm like this. After finishing vomiting, Tang San finally realized that Zyro Wu was still by his side. The most awkward part was that Zyro Wu had just been acting coquettishly with him, and he had coincidentally just couldn't help but vomit. Zyro Wu let go of his arm, wiped her tears and said, Brother San, it's fine, I know. After saying that, she stood up and ran outside, not giving Tang San any chance to react. Whether Brother San had any old ailments, she, as his wife, naturally knew clearly. Tang San was clearly disgusted with her. How could he have an old ailment? Watching Zyro Wu's departing figure, Tang San was stunned. He thought about it and chose not to follow her for now. Zyro Wu was currently in the heat of anger. If he chased after her to explain, it would be completely useless. It would be better to wait until Zyro Wu's anger had subsided a bit before explaining to her. Only then would Zyro Wu be able to forgive him. Meanwhile, Zyro Wu, who had run out, saw that Tang San hadn't chased after her and felt even more heartbroken. Sure enough, Brother San was disgusted with her. Chapter 48, Roommate Wang Dong. If it were before, third brother would definitely have chased after her to explain what exactly was going on, but this time he hadn't come. He must dislike her, which is why he's acting like this. Thinking of this, Zyro Wu went sadly to find Ning Rongrong and the others. She wanted to pour her heart out to her good sisters. Meanwhile, Tang San was still investigating what exactly was going on and where that strange smell was coming from. He truly hated that smell and simply couldn't stand it. Moreover, it would be troublesome if this happened again next time. It wouldn't matter if there was no one around. On the other side, at Shrek Academy. Hua Yutong, don't worry about the tuition fees. I've already paid them for you, and I'll cover your tuition in the future as well. Brother Mu, isn't that a bit inappropriate? Hua Yutong said to Deng Mu with some embarrassment. She already owed Deng Mu far too much, and now that Deng Mu was even helping her pay the tuition, she felt truly embarrassed. However, it had to be said that the tuition at Shrek Academy was quite expensive. Average families simply couldn't afford it, but it was nothing for those spirit master families. Deng Mu waved his hand and said, You are now a member of my Tang sect. Isn't it only right for the sect master to take care of a disciple? He silently grumbled in his heart that even though the Tang sect had a quota for Shrek Academy, it still required money. Listening to Deng Mu's words, Hua Yutong felt it made some sense, but the next second she denied it. Someone like her with no talent and no looks, how could she possibly be worth Deng Mu's cultivation? Because she had been bullied since she was young, she had developed some inferiority. It didn't usually show, but when she was in front of someone who treated her well, this inferiority would appear. Deng Mu thought for a moment and joked, If Hua Yutong feels bad about it, how about you become my wife in the future? Hearing Deng Mu's joke, Hua Yutong's entire face turned incredibly red. She wanted to agree in her heart, but thinking of her own status, she felt she wasn't worthy of Deng Mu. Seeing that Hua Yutong wasn't speaking, Deng Mu patted Hua Yutong on the shoulder and said, Hua Yutong, don't have any psychological burden. I believe you have great potential. You will definitely soar like a dragon in the future. He didn't know why, but he just felt that Hua Yutong was inexplicably insecure, so he had to praise her more. Listening to Deng Mu's words, Hua Yutong nodded happily. Deng Mu and Hua Yutong arrived at the entrance of a white building, where an elderly man who looked very old was sitting. The old man was wearing grey cloth clothes, and the wrinkles on his face were enough to crush dozens of flies at once. His eyes were dim and yellow, his eyelids drooped, and he looked like he was at death's door. The sunlight between the buildings happened to shine on him, and his semi-reclining chair looked quite comfortable. Looking at this old man, Deng Mu recalled for a moment, this person was Muen. Having transmigrated for so long, he wouldn't suddenly remember some characters if he didn't think about them carefully. However, he had to complain that even though Shrek Academy had become a top-tier academy, they were still reluctant to separate the male and female dormitories. "Hello, Grandpa, we are new students here to move into the dormitory. Do you need to check our freshman badges?" Just as Deng Mu was complaining about Shrek Academy in his heart, Hua Yutong walked up to Muen and spoke to him respectfully. Without raising his head, Muen extended his trembling right hand, and a somewhat hoarse and low voice sounded, "Let me see the badges and dormitory keys." Hearing this, Hua Yutong and Deng Mu took out their badges and dormitory keys and handed them to Muen for inspection. Taking the badges and dormitory keys, Muen looked at them, then returned them and told Deng Mu and Hua Yutong their room locations. After saying goodbye to Muen, Hua Yutong and Deng Mu separated and each headed to their own dormitory. At least it's better than my college dorm." Deng Mu arrived at the dormitory, took a look at the situation inside, and commented. It was only about 10 square meters, with 2 beds taking up most of the space. Besides that, there was only 1 table and 2 iron wardrobes, a light on the ceiling, and a few metal protrusions on the walls. If this were the school dormitory before his transmigration, a dorm would have either 4 or 8 people. It had to be said that overall, it was still worse than the dorms before his transmigration. Over on Earth, the beds were on top and desks were below, but it wasn't like that here, and the activity space was a bit small. If the 2 beds were put together, there would be a bit more activity space, Deng Mu thought to himself while looking at the room. "This classmate, what's wrong?" Just as Deng Mu was thinking, a young man's voice came from behind him. Hearing the voice, Deng Mu instinctively turned around to look, and he was stunned when he saw the other person. The youth had refined features and fair skin. A pair of big eyes were very special. They were surprisingly a pale powder blue, and his neat short hair was the same color. Wang Dong. Deng Mu looked at Wang Dong, feeling extremely confused in his heart. He didn't understand what was happening and why he had encountered Wang Dong. He had thought Tang Wutong wouldn't dress as a man, but in the end, she still dressed as a man, and she was even in the same dormitory as him. It was truly too coincidental. It was so coincidental that Deng Mu didn't know how to describe it. Wang Dong was also stunned when he saw Deng Mu. He felt a sense of intimacy from Deng Mu, a feeling he had felt from his own father, and he couldn't help but be filled with good feelings for Deng Mu. Coming back to his senses, Deng Mu smiled, reached out his hand, and said to Wang Dong, "Hello, classmate. My name is Deng Mu and I'm in this dormitory. How about you?" Hearing this, Wang Dong came back to his senses, reached out his hand to shake hands with Deng Mu and said, "My name is Wang Dong, and I am also in this dormitory." When the two shook hands, they felt a spirit resonance, and both Deng Mu and Wang Dong were incredibly surprised in their hearts. Deng Mu was surprised that he could have a spirit resonance with Wang Dong, while Wang Dong was surprised that his clear sky hammer and light goddess butterfly were resonating with the person in front of him. The two withdrew their hands, and Wang Dong entered the dormitory, somewhat disgusted by the room. It was dirty inside. "Wang Dong, how about the two of us clean up the dormitory together?" "Sure, forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio." Wang Dong thought for a moment and agreed to Deng Mu's proposal. If it had been someone else, he might not have agreed, but the youth in front of him gave him an incredibly intimate feeling, which was why he agreed. Seeing Wang Dong agree, Deng Mu was somewhat surprised, and the two cleaned the dormitory together. The dormitory wasn't very big, and with 2 people cleaning it together, it didn't take long to clean the entire room until it was spotless. "Hugh, I'm exhausted." Wang Dong lay on his bed and said with some fatigue. He had never cleaned before. Such things were always left to others to clean, and this first time cleaning, he felt inexplicably tired. Deng Mu sat on the bed, looked at Wang Dong and said with a chuckle, "Wang Dong, thank you for your hard work." Wang Dong sat up, waved his hand and said, "It's fine, it's just that I'm not used to it because I've never cleaned before." Deng Mu heard this and said, "It looks like you're a young master, Wang Dong." Chapter 49, Huo Yutong's Roommate. Wang Dong scratched his head, feeling a bit embarrassed. Well, usually things like this are left to the servants at home. For some reason, when Deng Mu asked about such things, Wang Dong felt a bit embarrassed. Seeing Wang Dong like this, Deng Mu couldn't help but recall the plot from the novel. When Wang Dong and Huo Yuhao first met, they had a fight, but later their relationship became quite good. Now that Wang Dong was speaking to him so amiably, Deng Mu felt incredibly surprised. After thinking for a moment, Deng Mu took out some food and gave it to Wang Dong. "Wang Dong, take this. I made it myself, the taste is decent." Hearing Deng Mu's words, Wang Dong smiled, didn't say anything and began to eat. After one bite, Wang Dong's eyes lit up. He felt it was incredibly delicious, even better than what his mother and father made. "Delicious, Deng Mu, the food you made is really delicious. Eat slowly, no one is going to snatch it from you." Watching Wang Dong wolf down the food, Deng Mu said, feeling amused yet helpless. Deng Mu knew very well that the food he made hadn't reached that level of quality, but Wang Dong's reaction was too exaggerated. Given Wang Dong's status, he had eaten all kinds of delicacies. There was no reason for him to act like he'd never seen the world over a bit of food. Before long, Wang Dong finished the food Deng Mu gave him and drank the water that Deng Mu handed to him. Watching Wang Dong drink water, Deng Mu asked, "Wang Dong, what is your spirit?" "Mine is blue-silver grass." After speaking, he extended his hand to show it to Wang Dong. Not many people knew about the blue-silver emperor, so there was no need for him to mention it. Looking at Deng Mu's blue-silver emperor, Wang Dong recognized at a glance that Deng Mu's spirit was not blue-silver grass at all, but the blue-silver emperor. This made Wang Dong incredibly surprised. He hadn't expected that the youth in front of him possessed a spirit that was the same as his father's, the blue-silver emperor. Looking at the blue-silver emperor in Deng Mu's hand, Wang Dong introduced it to Deng Mu. "Deng Mu, your spirit is not blue-silver grass, but the blue-silver emperor. It is a top-tier plant-type spirit." Hearing Wang Dong's words, Deng Mu looked at him with a surprised expression. He hadn't expected Wang Dong to recognize the blue-silver emperor at this time. Wait, perhaps Wang Dong's memory hadn't been sealed. This possibility suddenly popped into Deng Mu's mind. Aside from this, he couldn't think of any other possibility. Following that, Wang Dong began to introduce the blue-silver emperor to Deng Mu. Listening to Wang Dong's introduction, Deng Mu pretended to know nothing and just listened to what Wang Dong was saying. "Wang Dong, thank you, you know so much." "It's nothing, I just happen to know a little." Hearing Deng Mu's praise, Wang Dong felt very happy inside. For some reason, he didn't feel much when others praised him, but when Deng Mu praised him, he felt especially happy. Deng Mu curiously asked Wang Dong, "Wang Dong, then what is your spirit?" Wang Dong showed his wings to Deng Mu and said, "Light goddess butterfly, isn't it beautiful?" Seeing the look of anticipation for praise on Wang Dong's face, Deng Mu suddenly wanted to joke, "Very beautiful. It's so beautiful that I want to marry you." Upon hearing this, Wang Dong was momentarily at a loss. We are both guys, how could guys be together? Inside, he felt a bit shy, while at the same time wondering if he had been exposed. Otherwise, how could Deng Mu come up with this idea? It couldn't be that Deng Mu likes boys. No, the person he likes cannot like boys. He must make Deng Mu like girls, that way he would have a chance in the future. Seeing Wang Dong like this, Deng Mu couldn't help but burst into laughter. Seeing Deng Mu laughing out loud, Wang Dong finally realized that Deng Mu was teasing him, and immediately became embarrassed and angry. "Deng Mu, you bad guy, see if I don't beat you to death." I was wrong, stop hitting me." Wang Dong pounced directly, tackled Deng Mu onto the bed and waved his fists, hitting Deng Mu lightly. The force of the hits on Deng Mu was no different from a massage. He couldn't bear to hit Deng Mu hard. If he hurt him, he would feel heartache. Deng Mu laughed while begging for mercy, feeling the force of Wang Dong's hits, and found it quite comfortable. After hitting him for a while, Wang Dong finally realized that their position was very awkward. He was sitting on top of Deng Mu. His entire face immediately turned incredibly red, not knowing whether to get off Deng Mu or what to do. Next time you tease me again, I will teach you a harsh lesson. Wang Dong said to Deng Mu with a flushed face, pretending to be very angry. Looking at Wang Dong like this, Deng Mu smiled and nodded, though he didn't quite understand why Wang Dong was blushing. Wang Dong got off Deng Mu and sat on his own bed, looking at Deng Mu somewhat embarrassedly. This was the first time he had such intimate contact with a strange boy. Deng Mu sat up and looked at Wang Dong, suggesting, "Wang Dong, I have an idea, see if it works." Hearing Deng Mu's words, Wang Dong became interested and said, "Tell me, what is it?" The matter of the extremely intimate contact, just now, was completely thrown to the back of his mind. Deng Mu scratched his face with one finger and said to Wang Dong, "It's just that, let's push our beds together. That way the room will have more space for activities." He sighed in his heart that it would be better if there were loft beds with desks underneath. Their dormitory was similar to an inn. To be precise, it wasn't even as good as an inn. Other inns had private toilets and bathrooms, unlike Shrek Academy, where the toilets and bathrooms were public. Regarding Deng Mu's proposal, Wang Dong felt it was fine. The size of this dormitory was not as big as where he lived when he was at the Clear Sky Sect. "Sure, your proposal is quite good." After thinking for a moment, Wang Dong chose to agree to Deng Mu's proposal. Seeing Wang Dong agree to the proposal, Deng Mu looked at Wang Dong with some surprise. When he first made the suggestion, he thought that since Wang Dong was a girl, she would likely not agree to it. He hadn't expected that Wang Dong would agree in the end. After agreeing, Deng Mu and Wang Dong pushed the beds together. After pushing them together, they felt the bedroom became much larger. "Brother Mu, are you there?" Just at this moment, a knocking sound rang out, followed immediately by Hua Yutong's voice. Hearing Hua Yutong's words, Deng Mu looked at Wang Dong and asked, "Wang Dong, shall we go out to eat together?" Regarding Deng Mu's invitation, Wang Dong agreed without even thinking. As soon as the dormitory door opened, Deng Mu saw Hua Yutong standing at the door, with a girl standing behind her. The girl was petite and cute. She wasn't exceptionally beautiful, but her features were delicate. She had long black hair tied in a ponytail to the side, green eyes, and was wearing a green dress. Seeing the girl behind Hua Yutong, Deng Mu felt somewhat surprised. He hadn't expected that Ziro and Hua Yutong were in the same dormitory. Deng Mu looked at Hua Yutong and asked, "Hua Yutong, what's wrong? Did something happen?" Hua Yutong shook her head. "It's nothing, my roommate and I came over to call you for dinner." Chapter 50, The Two Who Disliked Each Other. When Ziro looked at Deng Mu, her eyes lit up, thinking that Deng Mu was truly handsome, much more so than anyone she had seen before. As someone who valued appearances, her heart fluttered, and she felt a desire to pursue him. Deng Mu looked at Ziro and greeted her. "Hello, my name is Deng Mu. What is your name, fellow student?" Ziro snapped back to reality and hurriedly introduced herself to Deng Mu. "Hello, my name is Ziro, and I am Hua Yutong's roommate." After spending time together in the dormitory, it didn't take long for them to become best friends. Listening to Deng Mu and the others chatting, Wang Dong curiously poked his head out to look at the people outside. When he saw Hua Yutong, he inexplicably felt displeased and found himself disliking this girl for no apparent reason. When Hua Yutong saw Wang Dong, who had poked his head out from behind Deng Mu, she inexplicably disliked this young man. Ziro was a bit surprised when she saw Wang Dong. She hadn't expected there to be two handsome guys in one dormitory, though she felt Deng Mu was slightly more handsome than Wang Dong. If she had to choose between the two, she would definitely choose Deng Mu, because Wang Dong gave her the feeling of being somewhat like a girl. The thought that he might be a girl popped into her mind, but she denied it the next second. Shrek Academy certainly wouldn't arrange for a boy and a girl to share a room. Otherwise, the whole school would be in chaos. Deng Mu introduced Wang Dong to Ziro and Hua Yutong. "Hua Yutong, Ziro, this is my roommate. His name is Wang Dong." Wang Dong smiled and greeted Ziro and Hua Yutong. "Hello, my name is Wang Dong." Although he didn't like Hua Yutong, she was Deng Mu's friend, so it was necessary to put on a show. "Hello." Hua Yutong and Ziro greeted Wang Dong together. After the greetings, the group left the dormitory and headed toward the school cafeteria. After joining Shrek Academy, Deng Mu had asked others about the location of the cafeteria. On the way to the cafeteria, Hu Yutong asked Tianmeng Iceworm in her heart, "Sister Tianmeng, I don't know why, but I feel a bit of dislike for this person named Wang Dong." She felt in her heart that this person would compete with her for Deng Mu, but thinking that the other party was a boy, she felt it was unlikely, which was why she asked Tianmeng Iceworm. Hearing Hu Yutong's words, Tianmeng Iceworm didn't know what to say. She felt that the boy named Wang Dong was all right, and didn't quite understand why Hu Yutong disliked him. "Little Hu Yutong, could it be that you are jealous? Are you jealous that Wang Dong and Deng Mu are so close, which is why you dislike Wang Dong?" "I am not." Hu Yutong heard Tianmeng Iceworm's words and blushed as she retorted. She wouldn't be jealous like that, and besides, it was impossible for Deng Mu to like men. Zyro, who was chatting happily with Deng Mu, noticed that Hu Yutong had been silent and wondered why she was blushing. The four of them bought their own food trays on the way and arrived at the cafeteria. Hu Yutong's money had been given to her by Deng Mu earlier. There weren't many people in the cafeteria. What surprised him was that there wasn't a single table or chair. It was completely an open space, with only a sink for washing hands and tableware on one side. On the inside were the windows for purchasing food, with prices marked outside each one. There were 8 windows in total, each with different dishes, and the prices increased from right to left. Deng Mu complained in his heart that Shrek Academy was crazy. Why wouldn't they even bother to provide tables and chairs in the cafeteria? A set of tables and chairs wouldn't cost much, and Shrek Academy's annual tuition was over a dozen gold coins. No way, the cafeteria doesn't even have tables and chairs, and they don't let us take the food out. Seeing this situation, Wang Dong couldn't help but complain about the cafeteria. Hu Yutong and Zyro nodded in agreement as they heard Wang Dong's words. If there were no tables and chairs, they would have to eat while holding their food. After complaining, Deng Mu, Wang Dong, and the others went to the windows to buy their food. To take care of Hu Yutong, Deng Mu directly paid for Zyro and Wang Dong as well. Zyro looked at Deng Mu and said with a smile, "Thanks, Deng Mu. Next time I will treat you to a meal." Deng Mu nodded and agreed, "Sure." Seeing that Deng Mu agreed so readily, Zyro pondered when she could go out for a meal with Deng Mu, certainly without bringing Wang Dong and Hu Yutong along. Because there were no tables and chairs, the four of them ate quickly and finished their meal in no time. Deng Mu, the cafeteria food is nowhere near as good as what you cook. After walking out of the cafeteria, Wang Dong couldn't help but complain to Deng Mu. Although the food in the cafeteria was decent, after having tasted Deng Mu's cooking, the cafeteria food felt mediocre. Hearing Wang Dong's words, Zyro asked curiously, "Wang Dong, is the food Deng Mu makes very delicious?" Wang Dong looked at Zyro and nodded, "Yes, it's delicious. Once you eat it, you can't forget it." Regarding Wang Dong's description, Zyro immediately had some thoughts, but unfortunately, she hadn't had the chance to eat food made by Deng Mu. Thinking of this, Zyro sighed and said with regret, "It's a pity, I don't have the chance to taste the delicacies Deng Mu makes." Deng Mu thought for a moment, "Wait until later. If there is a chance, I will cook a meal for you all." Listening to their conversation, Hu Yutong listened quietly from the side. She didn't talk much. Previously, she had always stayed quietly by herself. The group chatted and laughed as they arrived at the dormitory. Saying goodbye to Hu Yutong and the others, Wang Dong and Deng Mu returned to their room. Shrek Academy is supposed to be a top-tier academy, so why doesn't the cafeteria even have tables and chairs? I guess it's because they are too stingy. Deng Mu listened to Wang Dong's words and thought for a moment before answering Wang Dong's question. Shrek's stinginess was hereditary. Shrek Academy's founder, Flender, was extremely stingy. Wang Dong nodded upon hearing Deng Mu, "Very stingy, but I don't know how the teachers are at teaching." Listening to Wang Dong's words, Deng Mu recalled their class teacher. The teacher seemed to be Zhu Ye. His impression of Zhu Ye wasn't great. At first, he thought this person was quite impressive, but seeing more later, he didn't think much of her. Her teaching method was just running, with nothing else besides that, and those with poor talent were directly expelled. He remembered that the four people, Huang Chushan, Dai Huabin, Zhu Lu, and Wu Feng were expelled because of the freshman assessment. It seemed they eventually went to class 2. Remembering something, Wang Dong sat on the bed and asked curiously, "By the way, Deng Mu, what is your relationship with that girl named Hu Yutong? I see you are very concerned about her. Could it be that she is your girlfriend?" While they were together, he had noticed Deng Mu's concern for Hu Yutong, which made him a bit jealous. Deng Mu waved his hand and said, "No, she is a disciple of my school. As the sect master, isn't it expected for me to care about her?" Upon learning that Deng Mu was a sect master, Wang Dong immediately became curious. "Deng Mu, which school are you the sect master of? Can you tell me?"
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe to AI Otaku Studio, and don't forget to check out Infinite Novel Audio for more amazing content. See you in the next adventure.